jungle, so the Sejuani ban ends up being burned by BLG. We'll have to see. We haven't seen much jungle poppy here, and you're right, Dag, it's the MF. Yeah, Misfortune going to come in. Does feel like a bit of a dangerous game for MF. Although you don't necessarily have sort of the classic counters in things like Leona that can have a really long-range solar flare to interrupt you and things like that. But there is Nah, there is Even, the ultimate coming out from the Poppy as well that can get up to a decent range to knock her away. Certainly interruption available. But HLE definitely feeling real brawly with this composition and so much damage wombo coming out.
I think BLG going to spike off that 1 to 2 items and need to take over that game in the mid game. Otherwise, you do end up falling prey to the Silas just getting too tanky, the late game Ezreal not being able to get locked down really by the squad, apart from maybe the vibe. But I think you just have great opportunities to play out team fights as this game goes on later. But like, off of 2 items, BLG could just rock you at any second. Yeah, and I'm not going to lie to you, I do feel like coming out of this champion select, BLG's composition feels that little bit more cohesive, feels like it's going to have what it needs to get over the line, but HLE so much comfort for so many of these champs. And I can't wait to see the start of this game. And hear me out, to see if we see lane swaps. But it's because Mersi, Cristian. Salut, Alex, salut, Capa.
BLG look a little lackluster.
Care e prima hartă? Până acum, draftul celor de la Hanwha e de 1 miliard de ori mai bun. Cine cred că știa? Hanwha primul meci. Ieri surpriză nu chiar. Am anunțat pe Discord că nu pot să fac ieri și o să fac azi, mâine și pe mine. Adică o să fac la toate celelalte meci.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these Ezreal Alistairs do opt in for the lane swap, but it is now time. Let's jump out of the rift for game number 1. Life Esports taking on BLG, our second quarter final. And I cannot wait to see who's going to be able to draw first blood in this series. HLE on the coveted blue side, so it does feel
Cine câștigă Worlds? Câștigătorul de azi e cu siguranță favorit. Ok, nice and Tocmai și mă pregăteam să-l laud pe Peanut by the way. Da, după eu ăla, nu știu dacă e 1 pe 1 World. E bad, e bad. De 1. Ok, 1 pe 1. Artic pentru Alex, evident e World pentru BLG. Mă pregăteam să zic că atunci când Poppy a devenit meta în junglă, pentru prima dată, singurul sau primul jucător care a jucat Poppy în junglă și era extraordinar la gen pe ea, e Peanut. N-ați ai prins un pro player pe match? Da, urmă.
Doran's returned. Oh, it's Doran's going to make his way up, throws the boomerang out, the crash down there from On to get him out of the way. I think it is a good time to remind everyone that Knight is pretty good at Ahri. His win rate 51 to 10, has an 11 KDA or something around there, and he is extremely good at this champion. I mean, this was the champion.
I mean, we bought n-ar da chiar atât de bad by the way până acum în turneu, so nu mi se pare chiar atât de surprinzător faptul că au știat. Meciul ăsta ai Peanut pe Poppy, Poppy e în Rel, Vi și Ahri, are atât de multă utilitate. Zeka, când a câștigat Worlds, se juca Akali și Sylas, și e probabil nu cel mai bun jucător de Sylas din lume. Și ai practic Poppy plus Alistar, double counter în Rel, Relul ăla n-ar trebui să facă nimic în meciul. Nu văd cum pierde Hanwha primul meci, sincer. În opinia mea câștigă Hanwha, n-are cum să nu câștige. Că așa a făcut, joacă mâine.
They push it in, they're getting an early recall, and I actually think they might be swapping down.
Joacă G2, F in the chat pentru acționator boys.
And actually they're just going to take that call by and immediately run back up top lane. So they had the tempo here to do whatever they want. You can see MF running out back to top lane, but On is going to have a move on Rel with Flash, and he's going to be a solo support on the map here. Yep, Zeka clears out the mid lane though, so there is at least some tempo available there. Something that BLG have always played really well around though is being able to get first move on the map. So looking forward to seeing what they can actually utilize with it as Elk does make his way back up towards that top side. Teleport back in from Zeka in the mid lane. Of course, Knight previously doing that. And Zeka, very good, playing these melee champions and just staying even on farm. And it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, especially against Knight. It's Ari that is so very good, keeping that health bar down. But as I say that, he's got some friends. The charm is going to connect as well. Peanut and Delight are trying to get in here in time. And we'll see whether they manage to...
Am vrut să facă să pare că o să dea flash Q și să reacționeze cu flash fără care să-și dea waste la flash.
Did such a long wraparound that Delight and Peanut were able to offer enough assistance that BLG wasn't
Neața, Andrei Cristian.
Cu
ce reținem?
Personal,
vreau să câștige Hano. Cred că e timpul ca Peanut să câștige un campionat mondial.
The enemy jungler. I want to try and put Peanut behind, and I think a large portion of that is going to be trying to get these wards in towards the enemy jungle, which you can already kind of see starting to set up on this bottom side of the map. And a lot of that is how are Shun and On going to work together. So having these small advantages with Elk having push in top, with Knight having push in mid, is going to open up for BLG to put that pressure on.
Facem Bami în continuare.
Now another push in here towards the top side of the map. The Misfortune, definitely very strong in the early game, but I think during this tournament, a lot of us have gone off the hype train.
Practic, două iteme, Silas Ezreal, ăla e cel mai mare spike pentru Hanna. Trebuie să pusheze foarte tare, să caute fight-uri când sunt două iteme, sau actually și un Idevor spike, sunt foarte strong. Posibil să-și... Actually nu cred că și-au skill de la ML. Cred că compurile scalează similar. Short for him.
And I think it's really interesting to see how Shun has come out on towards almost counterpicking himself, going towards the vibe, but giving himself that opportunity to go toe-to-toe with Peanut once more. This was the matchup we watched for BLG and Gen G so often last year. MSI went to BLG, Worlds went to BLG, but Peanut looking for that revenge, and it's not Wei who's opposite him. BLG up back in towards Shun to see if they can find some of that success once more with the change in jungle.
Absolutely, but I will also say that BLG has pressure everywhere. Yeah. It's just a matter of whether or not they can convert it, because at the moment, HLE is absolutely on the back foot. Bin hit level 6 first, altered the wave, got an incredibly strong amount of tempo on his reset, and now we just need to see what the next play is. It looks like
N-au cum să ia Galabi, by the way. Câștigă BLG hard pentru că au Rumble ce mișcă deja și Rumble e de 100 de ori mai bun decât Gnar, level 6 fight. Da. Dă-i turn, bro, why base, Gnar? Okay, yeah, true.
There is no shot for this one. Maybe try again with the next pack, but this is not yours, HLE.
And this advantage for BLG comes back to Doran having to blow that teleport level 1 to get to.
Asta e un semn destul de bad, by the way. Dacă Doran face chestii de genul, e foarte bad. Și așa la recall for no reason, puteți da extra 3-4 autori în turn.
In the grand scheme of things, BLG are just happy to get that advantage for themselves.
He loses a couple minions and one plate. That's absolutely worth 3
O să
grubs.
pierde și Dragonul.
I'm actually pretty surprised that we still have these dual lanes top. Nobody really wanted to blink first, but it's resulting in a very slight lead here for BLG. But honestly, we haven't seen this game break in any meaningful way yet. And if everyone stays up towards the top side,
Finala Fiona da 10 droguri de 5 pe ziua următoare bătaie Jungle Camps. O să mai prată.
BLG possibly heading over there, but this could be a really late first raid.
Well, as our resident Australian, I assumed you'd be able to inform us how Australian lanes operate around dragons and things like this. I was relying on you for.
Well, I mean, it's just the opposite. It's just upside down, man. We're just the same as everyone else. Don't you worry. Our voices sound a bit weird, but that's about it. Okay, that's a flash pulverize. Headbutt comes back.
Nu se iasă nimic de
He's gonna get knocked
okay,
out.
never mind. Let's pick it back.
The spirit rush as well.
We
So
got a
there should
flash.
be no way out here for Han. Zeka picks up the first one after our shenanigans in the level 1. And that is so big for Zeka, and Peanut with the control there. It's a play that happened on his side of the map when BLG was trying to play with their pushing lanes and actually get some type of deep vision. They punished so incredibly well. Zeka with the kill.
And this was something that we talked a lot about coming into today was, hey, how does On operate on BLG? He likes to go for these off-timers, likes to kind of play this bluff game as he gets vision and tries to encourage you to either back
Cred că Rel e cel mai useless pick în meciul ăsta, by the way. Poppy, Alistar, double counter, plus Gnar mobil, Ezreal super mobil și Silas, care poate să fie și el super mobil cu ultul de Artic sau pur și simplu
I mean, at the time, right now, BLG's probably going to be able to get that
Deci
Drake.
sunt practic minusul în meciul ăsta.
Cheeky play by Peanut and Zeka. That was no ultimate on Silas. Being able to actually force the flash on Knight there is pretty nice because otherwise that's a point where they wouldn't have been able to do anything. They still get a small win in the trade.
I think you've also now set up an opportunity for Hanwha to really look for a play with Peanut, using the fact that Doran has that teleport advantage. Oftentimes when you get to about a minute 30, Peanut will operate on towards a gank somewhere on the map, and it means that then post that gank, Hanwha only have to play off.
O să merg să văd finala live chat. Sper să vedem finala Hanwha versus FlyQuest.
Peanut make some sort of gank play top, hope that Doran can TP in and just get that advantage then for yourselves.
All right, I'm looking for a bit of an angle, but the Shattering Strike not quite long enough there. Needs just an extra little bit on the lance, unfortunately. So they are just going to push this wave in, and everything's kind of settled down. A minute until the next grubs do spawn, and we'll see whether Hanwha Life Esports are ready to fight around that one. One thing that we do want to say is a positive here for Hanwha is the fact that top lane CS, not something worth talking about at all. So far, Doran hasn't been killed multiple times in lane against Bin.
Ok, domnule Gabriel.
Yes. I was looking top
Apreciez.
carries, and their CS is also
oh, you guys aren't hanging upside down?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how we do it in
Just
Australia.
trebuie,
So if there is a lane swap, you just hang upside down, and then everything looks absolutely fine. Reading's a bit more difficult.
I mean, honestly, my biggest takeaway from the first 10 minutes of this game is that we're in for a good series. The fact that these are the #1 seeds from the LCK and the LPL in the quarterfinals is a little bit crazy to begin with. We have so much potential revenge in this matchup as well, with Doran, Peanut, and Delight getting eliminated by BLG last year in the quarterfinals, wanting to come back and beat them. Zeka being on BLG 3 years ago in the LPL. We really do want 5 games. We would love to see it. It's so rare that we actually get to see LCK #1 versus LPL #1 at Worlds.
FlyQuest Omega Rule?
It happened 2 times in Worlds history, so it's surprisingly rare.
Nu știu niciodată. Dacă au reușit Fnatic cu Broxa,
the fact that this is close is encouraging to me because I want 5 close games.
And that's my favorite thing about this Worlds is that it's up in the air as to which team is the best from these regions as well, based on performance here at this tournament and in their playoffs as well. Have to remember, Weibo just qualified for the semi-finals, but they went 0-6 against this team that we're watching right now. So things don't make a whole lot of sense, but that should be 4 grubs going over to BLG. Will they make it out, or will they go for the team fight? That's the question. The teleport coming on in already. Knight is going to back up the rest of the team. Hanwha Life Esports taking control of the pit. Delight fumbling the engage a little bit. Magnus Storm comes through as Viper.
Bro, uite la Peanut. Gen, ce poți să faci? S-a aruncat pe Artic cu W, nu mai mișcă. Chat, vai, din ce am înțeleg câștigă Hanwha în meciul ăsta. Din ce am înțeleg, mai din ce am înțeleg. That's
The wombo combo was a no-go for BLG.
Ai jucat la Broca, jucat la G2, spui următor? Da. Cred că e o lege corectă. Nu ai pe cine altceva mai bun să decât import din Coreea sau până.
He wasn't up in CS, but he's first to kill in all these fights. I think the big decider in this fight, though, was how much was burned. Watch Viper on the left here. BLG was
bine din Coreea, că din China nu prea... De obicei, dacă un jucător este suficient de bun să joace în China, joacă în China, nu vine să joace în Europa.
Knight and Shun burn everything and are ineffective, and then the misfortune ultimate doesn't do nearly enough damage. Then Zeka can just obliterate them. Doran is doing Gnar damage all around the upside of this fight, and the 4-for-0 kind of out of nowhere is a massive win for HLE.
And it's just a disaster for BLG.
Bro,
the fact that you have to try and play off of this early spike, and you've given so much gold across the Hanwha Life, sets up this 3-kill Silas now to be such a massive threat on a side lane. And just making
Vrea și Sheldon să apară în cadru. Dacă se uită la distanță, că vede că mănânc ceva aici. Dacă lui nu-i place Garlic Bed.
Actually weren't there. We didn't have Knight's Malignants, we didn't have the first item for Rumble, and we didn't have the
Salut, domnule meu.
So BLG
Ai văzut tweet-ul Reckless?
but they're probably kicking themselves. They didn't just say it's a 3-3 trade.
Cred că și-a luat puțin cam mare bait de la un random chatter pe Twitter și a spus cam multe. Chestii de genul mai bine rămân private, din câte am înțeles poate să dea backfire ce a scris acolo. Are rău. Nu moare. Nu moare. Nu moare. M-am păcălit.
So there's one back for BLG.
Nice gank. It will end up giving them gold, but not much else. They just burned 2 ultimates with the Hextech Soul open, so it was generally speaking them just thinking they weren't going to be able to win a
Hextech Soul, but unfortunately we've only had one Drake. So
durează atât de mult să facă Dragonul singur pe game.
Hextech Drake. They were going to lose a 5v5 at Drake anyway, so they made a fast play top.
Uite, nu-l face singur, că nu.
And overall smart play there by BLG.
Are midul lui se numește Zeka.
In a micro situation like that, Life Esports aren't going to be too worried. Probably being able to pick up this Drake.
Sau de carry-ul lui e Viper. Logic că nu face singur acum.
1 second, and in fact up right now is the Herald. So they can head over to Shelly and see whether she wants to help out as well.
But that's why I think this just snowballs into Hamla getting this.
Ai avut ieri live de ziua mea, îmi pare rău, domnule Zăpada. La mulți ani să ai. Mulți ani fericiți. You want the beef? Ce-a făcut? Practic cineva a comentat pe Twitter punând că Reckless a fugit din Europa, bla 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 bla. Și a zis că n-a fugit, pur și simplu Europa i-a făcut rău. Și a povestit ce experiență a avut în G2 și în Fnatic. Și a sunat foarte, foarte, foarte ca și cum Reckless era super victimă în ambele șurari. Și a fost salvat. Și apoi au venit alți instigatori. E drama. Îți recomand să citești.
And I think it's incredible to see Zeka's journey over the course of his career. The fact that he got handpicked by Coma to come across the Vici game and said, "This is my guy. This is the new protege." And at the time, he was the guy, the Silas guy, but over now this time just sprouted into this
majoritatea n-au fost de acord cu el, de seama, din ce s-a prezentat în asemenea mod.
And is now putting the hurt onto BLG on what was his signature pick to begin with.
And I think they might be trying a dive play on Zeka. Right now, he's respecting it. I think Zeka is a great example of success not being linear, because he peaked so hard at the 2022 World Championship, winning Worlds, and then was not nearly as good as people expected him to be the next year in the LCK, but has continued to work on his game, was actually very successful in the AD carry meta this year, and I think today is a better player than he's ever been, despite actually having that world title in 2022. So I can't wait to see what the future holds for Zeka.
Yeah, I think the way that they sort of approached winning Worlds and what that meant for that DRX roster, I think they knew it was a miracle. As that's another charge. Doran looking to try and get out, does have the hop, gets over. There's a fadeaway, decent ulti there from Peanut, just for the disengage, but a teleport going to be invested. Knight lands the charm and says, get out of here.
They do lose the wave on bot lane though, because that's where Zeka was starting to shift over to. So I think that's why we saw BLG back away. Obviously Hamad
de fapt, singurul ce pierde wave e Doran cu un Arsa.
But you can still see both these squads immediately want to find any little advantage.
Cine a câștigat Zeka cu Rix? Simon i-a burit sau downgrade? Bro, trebuie să vedem. În solo queue e foarte bun. Avea 3 conturi în 1400 puncte plus.
Tied in Drake,
they hit
the item power spikes,
they
find little looks for these plays, and it's still going to be absolutely anyone's game.
They also managed to get the Void Mites, right? So they do have those 4 grubs, so even though it was a catastrophic failure there as far as the team fight, they still managed to get the objective that they were looking for. So now that we're back onto even footing, and especially with the fact that the tempo feels like it has now moved back towards BLG after a couple of little plays, Life Esports going to have to find another one of those moments if they want to get themselves to a solid advantage, despite the fact that the gold is still in around the 1,000 advantage mark.
You can see how BLG are trying to play this though, constantly shifting on down towards this bottom side and faking that pressure around mid lane because he's hiding out of vision. And it's Doran this time around who respects that, he backs away. It was Zeka literally a minute and a half ago.
Urmele echipa X, fiindcă o să face echipa de răsămătări, mi se pare pe timp. Eu nu cred că avea asta în contract, cred că pur și simplu era ținut ca rezervă ca să nu facă asta. Că dacă ai o clauză de genul, nu semnezi, nu?
Delight here. I was wondering whether Delight knew that that ward was there, because he was playing like he definitely did. Not going to be able to clear that one out. Still, the horse position known now, so BLG will be able to make some plays around it, and now we're back to some normalcy. It's not this weird Australian lanes that we were, presented with earlier in the game. It's now 80 carries in the mid lane, and we are just setting up our side lanes to see who can make things happen once again in that top side.
Doran doesn't want to fall for this twice. 40 seconds until the next Drake spawn. Feels safe in the top lane. Shun was going for the look. That Scryer's Bloom caught him a second ago, so they definitely know that it's there, and they're going to be able to now get a little bit of early vision on the Drake, unless Doran walks in a bit too far, but he should be completely fine.
Yeah, knows exactly what's going on.
Cu poate fi influențător că filmul să ca să formă poate și din goluri ce-aș face, știi, 2-3 meci, apoi înapoi 3-4. Îmi pierzi doar 2 și te oprești. Și apoi câștigi din nou 3.
Is a decent attempt, but it's not going to save it.
And this is where the power from Miss Fortune really came alive. It's not the fact that you see 3 members on top side, it's that she gets control over mid wave and allows teams to get 3 members on
Nu știu pe
side
niciunul din cei doi
unable to rotate there
Deci,
because
cu
you've got so
niciunul.
much control for Elk. And it's just setting up now.
Ce zici, Grandmaster?
To push mid, they rotate down. Peanut alone on the dragon though.
And that's amazing here for me for BLG. They almost cheat it. Normally when you make a play topside, you're trading it for Drake, but Peanut doesn't do any damage. So he can't.
Am avut o zi bună în care am putut să respira cu 2 zile și practic eram foarte calm și am făcut 200 de puncte într-o zi. Dar ieri mi-am revenit la normal. Aștept să văd dacă găsesc ofertă pentru echipă bună în spring. O să mă operez după split, dacă nu o să mă operez pentru deviație de set în iarnă.
Knights just have the TP to come back into this, but I think with on resetting and the flash on Elk burnt, they're just going to try and back away, but Hama are doing the same. Not really certain that they can just go for it when they don't have a jungler.
Yeah, that dragon is still undecided who it's going to fall to. Peanut's going to be able to respawn, run back here. I feel like that was so masterfully done so far by BLG to be able to kill Peanut on the backside and then escape. And they're seemingly not interested in the Drake, but they've been trading up over and over again. This team was down 2,000
să facem LFL cu Zoelis. Nu le-ai văzut știrile cu Serse. Salutare, Smat. Te vezi la spital? Nu. Mersi.
It gives them that opportunity to try and play through side lanes, allows on to start rotating around the map, and especially for a player like Nice, there's so much pressure on him coming through from the LPL. This is the Chinese mid laner, the mid laner that started in the LPL, grew up in the LPL.
Păi și la ce echipă mai exact? În LFL cu Zoelis, la ce echipă Zoelis? Zoelis... Păi, era la Rogue. Team Go?
Yep, you're exactly right. Although I feel like Doinby is more of an LPL guy. Out of those mid laners that
I mean, puțin disappointing, dar probabil îl plătesc foarte foarte bine dacă alege să plece de la Academy. În general, dacă ești în Academie, poți să fii băgat rapid în leg, right? Și cred că ăsta e scopul lui să joace în leg. Dar probabil vor să facă roster bun dacă l-a convins. Ce la Solari? I mean, cred că cealaltă echipă mai are mai mult decât Solari. Solari are fanbase mare ca și K-Corp. E a doua echipă din Franța. Sincer, mă așteptam să joace la echipa mare, la TH, după ce pleacă Iancos.
They're probably going to be able to one-shot, but I do feel that the Sylas, Ezreal, and even Alistar Nar are a little bit inevitable if this game goes long enough, so still so much league to be played. Actually has to be a little cautious with how well BLG has been able to set up these side lane traps, and I think they're doing a pretty good job so far. This is a great game.
It does feel like Hama are trying to set up a trap for themselves, though, as you're starting to shift that vision down into this bottom side, seeing if they can pull BLG in and just catch someone on a side lane, even giving that space to Zeka as well. But I think Hama have been doing a good job, as you say, of just matching a lot of that pressure from BLG. We haven't seen the presence of on that bottom side of the map actually gain anything for BLG in a lot of this.
Yeah, a lot of wards still surviving here in the Baron pit as well. So BLG with a lot of information that is just sticking around. So don't need to be too worried about the Baron at the moment.
E mega calm. Puțin cam prea calm. Am vedere cum a început. Adică Hanwha, în loc să accelereze, au jucat foarte slab.
And this is where I want to see Hanwha be a little bit more
Nu s-a mai întâmplat nimic de 10
tempered around
minute.
these Baron takes. We saw in the FlyQuest
Asta,
series
Andrei.
that oftentimes they'd start these Barons and just get caught out despite the 3
E o mare pate, dar poate să promoveze pe White, n-au făcut-o cu Carlson.
I think giving the
E
respect to
promoția lui
BLG, just
Carlson
setting
Bro,
down
nu
for
știu
it's not actually
cât de
starting up the
merită,
Baron,
sincer.
respecting what this squad can do if you find yourself in a Baron pit is good to see from Hanwha.
It's such an interesting game though, because like when I look at the vision here, it's so respectful. Like there's not
Am
much
dubii
red
foarte mari
board
în
past
legătură
this
cu
point,
următorul
and there's
roster
very
la
few blue
TH.
boards past this point. So no one really has the deep vision with which to make a play for, because
Poate
the
Dani n-a
times
vrut
I've
să
actually
se
seen
joace
teams
acolo,
go
sau
deep in enemy territory, that's when things have kind of gone wrong. So we may just be waiting for the next objective to pop up, and then we're going to see some real action.
I feel like we've got the perfect Baron pit for it as well, because that sort of draws that line for you, has the exact line across, and you can see that's exactly where those wards are. As yeah, we've reached a bit of a lull state, as we say in the LCK.
I think we're looking at Peanut though. I'm keeping my eyes on this bottom side of the map. That vision that was set up already could lend itself to some sort of dive towards Bin, but the pressure from BLG on the mid wave, drawing Peanut and also Delight back in.
asta ar fi finalul pe ranking? Yeah, pretty much.
Both teams are trying to set up for these plays.
E un meci în care a spus sub presiune. True, dar în general, din moment ce primul meci, parcă în primul meci îi face mai degrabă mai multe mișcări pentru a încerca să iei lead-ul seriei, right? Dar în același timp te gândești că poate sunt și stresați prin primul meci pe scenă. Viper nu pare stresat deloc.
We have a stopwatch on Zeka's Silas, so he's going to be more unleashed to make aggressive plays. I think that item alone.
Cred că e singurul jucător de Ezreal de la Worlds care poți să-l sperea să răschiță că nu mă lovește nimic.
Then buy time for his cooldowns to come back and then likely finish the execute. So even just those item spikes coming through
allow la șef sub acoperire. Nu știu dacă e ceva extra pe lângă text, dar dacă e doar textul așa simplu, fără ceva cu subînțeles, atunci da, am.
And the fact he already has that Seeker's Arm Guard, like you pointed out, means he doesn't actually have to reset. So now Knight has to
Asta e aproape de mega. Poppy trebuie să caute... Actually, nu cred că vrea să joace clan Poppy. Vrea să stea pur și simplu peste Ezreal, să n-ai cum să ajungă vai la el. Sau să blocheze Artic instant. Silas are zonia, adică activa. Silas TP. Da, Dragon. Cam trebuie să bată BLG, sincer. Rel. Singura poziție bună de Rel în meciul ăsta. Ok, nevermind, este seama. Au și Popiră. Ăla a fost cel mai încet smite pe care l-am văzut la Worlds, by the way. A stat o secundă jumate cu 8 HP. Și l-are să mai dă unul cu Vega. Părerea meciul de ieri? I mean, m-am uitat, dar foarte puțin, bro, n-am putut să mai... N-am făcut live, că n-am putut să mai... Și eu știa tu dar acum m-am uitat.
No actual chance for a Drake steal. I'd say there is even a little bit of
E foarte un draft cap meciul ăsta, nu vă gândiți că e Hanwha genius pe macro, pe... E pur și simplu draft cap, n-ai cum să te joci. Rally useless, Ahri useless. Și Ahri au luat-o în Silas, by the way, și se pare că nu au un răspuns clar la ce se joace în Silas. Silas pare power pick, e, literalmente cu meciul ăsta o să fie 7-0, by the way, Silas la Worlds. Și dacă câștigă din nou Zeka, Worlds vă garantez că o să avem Silas, Silas skin. Sau Akali. Nu știu dacă a jucat Akali în turneu până acum, că trebuie să facem un match win campionul respectiv. Cum te joci? Cum te joci? Cum te joci? În Poppy. Normal, da.
And he's just dashing around, making sure the enemy jungler cannot get into this Baron pit. And I think with just one pick, they'll be able to take this Baron after one ultimate.
Trolează.
Will we get another team fight? The answer might be no unless.
Ok, a intrat în pit, el trap.
There's a two-man Magnustorm. They're off the Baron now as the bullet time does barely anything. Equalizer is gorgeous, but the
mult mai messy decât a trebuit să fie, sincer.
disengage with just a little bit of stake left
Just
on the
moare.
ground.
Kill him.
Are you by yourself, buddy? He should be taken down. It's the ultimate from Peanut. Says, all right, we'll just take two of them.
E prea bun Peanut, chat, e prea bun Peanut. E pur și simplu prea bun Peanut. Și a selecționat pe Worlds? Yeah. Are Zeka de Rixa Kali? Păi da, dar poate să aibă și anul ăla aici la Kali, nu? Practic, fiecare jucător ce a jucat la Worlds în echipa ce câștigă Worlds, și dacă ai rezervă și joacă un match la Worlds, poate să-și aleagă și el un skin. Trebuie să joace campionul respectiv în match. Adică nu poți să alegi skin-ul tău de AD carry pe Malphite, decât dacă te juca Malphite AD carry.
Zeka's zoning the buyout. There's a slow contest by BLG, and you'll have to watch for Peanut's ejection to save HLE at the end.
And again, it's Hanwha playing off of these small pockets of vision that they've managed to set up. They've been doing a great job of getting early to these objectives, sticking a ward over a wall, getting
Așa tot se face pur și simplu pentru mid-bot plus Drake sau...
Tries to go for the play, but again, he caught a jab. Peanut's ultimates have been absolutely spectacular, and it is destroying BLG in this game.
Absolutely ridiculous stuff. Of course, just a bit of a reminder, we have some proof that Peanut's pretty good at this champion, as he's 28-9 on Poppy just over his entire career. Not quite his Maokai stats, but Maokai's less interesting. Poppy's really cool. Let's see how the siege goes.
Yeah, now they need to use this Baron to actually blow the game open because they found these small picks, but BLG has been able to secure so many minions and just passive gold that there's actually not a big lead here. They even cleared that wave pretty easily. 1/3 of the mid turret being down at 30 minutes. And
good reaction there from Peanut, but he's not going to be able to react to the charm. They managed to lock him down to the bullet time, getting a fair bit of value. Delight knocks up 3, and the rest of HLE will knock the rest down. Ben is told to leave. Viper chasing him out at night, and his top laner are the only ones left.
Bro, e mașinărie de război ăsta cu Israel. Și Dragdar. În Q nimerit din 7? Nu știu, tu cred că vezi al meci, bro. Cred că vezi al meci. Pe ecranul meu n-a arătat niciun Q, Viper. Nici măcar unul. Pe ecranul meu. Și ăla a nimerit. Că e la zonii. Este singurul play pe care poate să-l facă, și anume să inițieze pe Poppy și să-i dea one shot pe Artic. Doamne, cât de bun e. Bro, cum e delight ăsta, că și în Swiss Stage a făcut niște chestii cu rel de-ți scrapă capul.
And you can see there are certainly some dejected faces on the side of BLG after that one, but they are still within 1,000 gold. There is nothing in this at all, but it's now Ocean Soul on the table for HLE.
A fost la Baron și la Baron i-a zonat pe toți cu Q-urile, bro. Alea nu sunt Q-uri să numerează de atenție, sunt Q-uri să faci adversarul să dea în spate. Ok, bad Poppy, rău, by the way. Yeah, bad Poppy.
Nowhere near the pit, and Peanut's going to be able to lock that one down. Now Zeka dives into the backline. Knight out of there with the Spirit Rush, but so is Zeka. They're able to take down the Horse Lady before the fight even really starts, and there is the no. 2 shots just taken down. The Rumble gets one, but it's Viper that's laying down the Mystic shots. He gets a double
move. Nu spate decât pe 2, o să ia pe 2 bot în base și apoi joacă în mid-top.
Are giving them a big old hug with all these melee champions.
What year is it? Is it 2022 again? Like, I don't... Zeka hasn't been doing this all year.
Zeka Silas always arrives. You can't short sell Viper though. 606, 330 CS at 32 minutes on this Ezreal. The Baron buff is down. I don't think they can end it here, but my God, did they break this game open.
Certainly did they break the base open as well. Mid lane out of turret will finally go down with the inhibitor on the bottom side of the map as well. This does feel like a real gut punch from HLE for the first time this game.
Bine, cei drept au și grab să aici au...
They beat game 1, they took game 2. It was
jucarea unui gol diferență așa mare, e pur și simplu comp diferență, bro. N-ai cum să te joci nici Rel, nici Ahri, nici vai în Poppy. Și Silas e broken champ. Silas e monster broken, uite ce le face, bate 1 de 3.
And he's just so incredibly mobile with that Ahri ultimate. He doesn't even have to use his arm guard at all the entire time. The misfortune is hopelessly useless with how much mobility HLE has and the ability to disrupt the ultimate. it is impressive to watch.
Yeah, the way Zeka just goes in, draws 3 people's attention, and then sacrifices half of his health bar and goes out again, right? And they can make that re-engage happen over and over again with BLG out of position.
This man first picked it.
Yeah.
He just blind picked the Silas. Is like
Silas
give me it. I'm gonna take over. This is good.
He was the first tech champion to be introduced into League of Legends, I think. Like, you see good ultimates, you pick Silas. You know, you need the door open for the... No, I guess not. That's not the way.
It's going to be a threat for the rest of the series if you're willing to just lock it like that and have it pay off. The other crazy thing is that HLE blue side banning the Skarner, but it's because Peanut wanted to play Poppy, right? He's like, if I see the right angle, I'm going to hit him with the jungle Poppy. So both of those draft gambits have been paying off big time for HLE here in game 1.
And it's not only that, it's the fact that it's a flex pick as well. You can move that towards the bottom lane if you see an adjustment in the draft. So even now going into game 2, you're not getting free information necessarily if that flex is going to come through. But now Baron back up on the table once again. And BLG looking to try and set up their 6,000 gold behind. And it's an Ocean Soul as well as Peanut. He comes out. There's another 2-man fold. There goes Knight. He just doesn't get to play the game.
Nice camera work, sincer, cu
The
focul.
bullet time actually getting some value, but they just sidestep it. Bin not allowed.
Bro, Delight ăsta merită 2 skin-uri de Worlds la cum joacă, sincer. Atunci când ești înconjurat numai de vedete, Peanut, Zeka, Viper, e greu să te remarci, right? Dar Delight ăsta cu siguranță se face remarcat în turneu. Jumpscare Alistar, exact. E foarte, foarte bun. Și consistent, gen, e mega consistent. Zeka pare unimpressed, ceva genul, hai băieți, încă 2.
And HLE remembers what happened last year. They popped the Gen G emote at the end as they're killing the BLG Nexus. 2 more, and they get their revenge.
All right, but ladies and gentlemen, you can dominate the Rift with Opera GX. Get official League mods for your browser, access a dedicated Riot Corner for match schedules, tournament news, and enjoy a brand new co-streaming hub for live broadcast. But now it is time for us to go to a break. We're going to recover, and we're going to look forward to game number 2.
Make them believe, baby.
Revenim imediat cu meciul 2.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, good, good. I just feel so good, good. I just feel so good.
数不清有多少个这样的时刻，闪现向前，焦灼，欢呼，沮丧，再来。没什么比这一刻更好。
going here.
Tanking.
All right, Zeka's just going to dive underneath. Doesn't find the chain. There's the headbutt for the kill. They have to throw the kitchen sink at him. Knight's going to trade one back. Oh, God. On to on. He's going to get knocked up. Zeka finds the chain, and he's got the Spirit Rush as well, so there should be no way out here for On. Zeka picks up the first one after our shenanigans in the level 1. The bullet time, getting a fair bit of value, but Delight is huge. Delight knocks off 3, and the rest of HLE will knock the rest down. Bin is told to leave. Viper chasing him out at night.
What a masterclass from HLE in this first game. Even though I feel like both teams really showed up, and I think we were saying a lot specifically comparatively to the first games yesterday. You know, we saw both teams come into play with a relatively high level, but I am honestly taken aback by how clean HLE played that out.
It was great.
So not only did HLE play, I think, as a team very cleanly, it's particularly, and even though this is just game 1, for Peanut a really big moment, because that man, again, had some of his roughest games against BLG, and in this first game, he ran the rift.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like the LPL #1 seed versus the LCK #1 seed, right? And I mean that in the best possible way. These guys were playing incredibly well. Well, just game 1. We went over the game 1 stuff earlier.
Yeah, we did. Do you want to take a look at some of Peanut's moves? I know, Azale, I think you got a clip from the Illustrator.
Yeah, absolutely. We can take a look at this. I just thought that Peanut played this grub fight really, really well, and it decided a lot of the early game. I just want you to really keep your eyes, obviously, on Viper. They are going to be looking for an engage onto him. We can roll the clip out, but I really wanted to highlight how well the team backs off and actually peels for him. So definitely keep your eyes on Viper as well as Peanut. As Shun is going to move forward, he's going to look for Viper, but the buffer on the E here is going to be critical from Viper. And then notice how we're going to see Peanut move up, and instead of actually trying to run back and peel the Vi himself, he's going to find the bigger target in Knight. And immediately as Knight goes forward, you can actually see him jump right onto Knight, knocks him away, and then he's going to put up the W, which means that if he dashes, he's going to get stunned again. So the follow-up is not there. Viper doesn't even have the summoners forced, and you can see on the other side, Zeka piles in, Delight piles in. They cut off all the follow-up, which is where the main threat is coming for, and I just think it's beautiful team fighting from Peanut.
On the flip side, On tried to engage, and Delight actually got the intended Ellerson interaction right, interrupted the crash down, which didn't give another out on the opposite end of the team fight for BLG.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for us in terms of setting up this Peanut revenge arc, right, is we were like, okay, how well is he going to perform when the pressure is on? He talked about it in his own interview. And if this game 1 is any indication, we're getting domestic Peanut here on the international stage. This was the first time we saw him absolutely beast a team fight, but it certainly wasn't the last.
Yeah, in terms of milestones, now 10th in terms of assists at Worlds passing.
He passed Gorilla.
Yeah.
His old teammate, one of his fellow Rocks Tigers. And Azil and I were actually talking about this with the way that the drafts, I think, shaped up. Whichever team got a mid-game lead and got first team objectives was always going to have a good time. And it was humble life every single time.
Yeah, and the way they flex the Poppy in this draft for Peanut, this is a Peanut classic in terms of how he's going to play. And we'll talk about the rest of the draft a little bit, but like, look at that Poppy ult. Like, he was constantly removing key targets from team fights.
A question for you about the draft. If you cannot blow the enemy Ezreal's summoners almost the whole game, is that a compositional error or a gameplay error or both?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think that Viper played really well, and I also think they probably should have banned out the Ezreal or taken it away, right? The MF, I think, is way less dynamic. You know, when Viper is positioning like that, it's so difficult to get back to him, and they knew that, sure, the Vibe might be able to get them, but we're never going to allow the follow-up, so he's never going to have that threat. I think the bigger deal, though, was BLG was always late to the objectives. They're never the ones first there. They don't have vision. They're trying to force their way in. And all HLE needed to do was get a rejection from Poppy or put a little pressure on the corridor they're trying to walk through and secure the objective. It happened time after time after time until it was too late for BLG to do anything. Yeah,
and it got to the point where they did try to engage a fight, but as we see in our Hyper X Reflex replay, you have so many champions on the side of HLE that can respond, right? Because we see in this clip, watch Delight, because here BLG go in, they think, okay, we've got Peanut, right? On goes in, sets up for the MFO, but here we go. Delight immediately gets into the back line with this Alistar.
And then the follow-up from Viper is immediate, and that gives Delight now 2 of the, in my opinion, best individual engage plays. The previous one against Hanwha, or against Gen G rather. The Rel one also mind-bogglingly good.
And I want to return to this draft a bit because some things that came across, we had the Silas first pick called out from Zeka. He's like, this is my champ. I'm first picking it on blue side. We had the Knight Ahri in response, like the Ahri Vi, great combination, has worked super well for BLG. Bin Rumble, not something he particularly likes to play despite having a win rate, a really good win rate on it. He just played it last year at Internationals for the first time. But the big thing then is that they had the chance to pick the Ezreal, like you said, Azael, but they decided to take away the Rel. Delight still had an insane performance on the Alistar.
We can see BLG returning to the stage. They have selected blue side for game number 2. It's going to be exciting. I mean, 2 of these mid laners on their most iconic champions here in mid lane, battling it out. You know, Zeka throwing down the gauntlet. We got to see the response from the Knight Ahri. Like, look at these records. It's insane. Especially Knight Ahri, 51-11.
I feel like we were kind of, I don't know. I expected more when I saw that they locked in their respective best champions or some off, right? But Zeka really took over. I mean, of course, it was the game state as well, but in the setup for Knight, you know, we want to see more. He's going to have to be able to put his footprints, his stamp on this best of 5.
And for me, back in 2022 was all about the solo kills, but with the lane swaps, that's no longer an option, right? So much volatility is taken out, and I think that's the bloodiness that you were looking for, and I was hoping for it as well.
Yeah, let's see how it progresses here. It's awesome here in the Adidas Arena. It almost feels like they're cheering for your endless points. It's not, though. It's actually
can't take that
for
from
the players. I won't take it back, but perhaps they are cheering for our casters. What do you think? Is this going to be 2-0 for HLE?
Oh, it's got to be 5 games.
I hope so. I need 5 games.
It's got to be 5 games.
So bad.
Blue side's completely overpowered, so we've just got blue side, blue side, blue side, blue side, 5 games guaranteed, right? That's got to be it.
Yeah. I mean, the logic checks out.
I would like the red side team to win twice.
Okay.
Just, you know, if we're being picky.
you just want to have sides also.
Yeah, I don't want the sides to
games.
decide everything. I also want to see Yone and Aurora opened by HLE just to mix things up.
I like it.
Because, I mean, yesterday, actually, the team that was willing to open on red side, Aurora and Yone, was the team that actually won a game on red side with Weibo, because I feel like you're at such a draft disadvantage if you're actually locking 2 of your bans. So we'll see what ends up happening. The Poppy ban, chef's kiss needed, but it will look like we're going to see Aurora Yone, at least for this first red side game by HLE ban.
They almost have to come in together, right?
And I do agree. I think if you see one, it can't be without the other. The Silas also banned away, but I think this does then put pressure onto Hanwha where they can't just immediately go for something like the Kalista ban afterwards. Maybe that's their 3rd slot, but if you see an Ashe ban here on Billy, they are 100% setting up for that Kalista first pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a reminder, even though they did switch sides, if we do see the target bans here by BLG of Poppy and Silas, champions that were banned last game that won't be banned this game, HLE had Kalista, Renekton, and Skarner as their bans, and then Aurora, Yone, Jax. So Jax, Kalista, Renekton, Skarner. Renekton is banned, but that's 3 champions that we might see for the first time this series.
And the Renekton is actually the 2nd ban here coming out of HLE. They could, of course, just be staggering the Yone, keeping us on our toes, but they might leave it up. Who knows?
But that's the thing, right? So basically they're saying, hey, do you want to go for that Ashe ban? Because we could leave open Yone and suddenly we get the stronger bot lane here that we can try and play through. You have an 83% win rate on the Kalista for Viper across the course of summer, so I'm super excited now to see how this one goes. He's going to be the Jax ban instead, so basically kind of not fully taking the bait, but again, another Jax ban where Bin doesn't want to go towards it.
Yeah, another BLG Jax ban. I thought with them banning at red side, they were afraid of a takeaway from Doran, but that's a lot of respect for Doran, and I think they also don't want to be pinched in a situation where Yone gets left up and they give Jax over. But this is the gauntlet thrown down, and it also makes me think, like, what is the actual answer here? Skarner's open, so they're getting Skarner, and Zeka must just have something that he is comfortable with into this. Maybe a Kali?
Yeah, maybe, but I also think it's the opportunity to take something like the Ashe away and basically say, hey, look, we are guaranteeing ourselves both the strong jungler and a strong bot lane. We can play for picks.
Yeah.
The Ashe enables a Skarner incredibly well. And I think it's just a great setup here for Hanwha, but it's a case of how much can this Yone get done.
Okay, boys are back.
Well, the Skarner is going to
the
be
draft.
lock-in here, of course, has been kind of the pride of the jungle at this point in time. That's just
Și avem și un
now
invitat
locked away.
special.
This
Cum se
means
pare?
that the Yone pivot to top lane actually kind of feeling a little bit sexy as well.
It's possible, but I also think Gnar has just become
Okay, Aurora, Renekton, Vi. Makes sense, au schimbat side-urile.
I think this sets up for
Skarner open. Silas ban totuși. Jax ban, Poppy ban. Poppy ban e smart, mai ales pe rețe, pentru că poate să flexeze până în last pick. Și Peanut e mega confort pe Poppy. Plus că chestia asta le deschide drumul să joace absolut
adjusting to play.
tot comfortul lui Knight. Right? Poți lua Chahri?
It is being hovered for the moment. They're just making sure they get as much thinking time in as possible. But it does feel like an incredibly powerful top side of the map. Zeka Zakali, I heard he's pretty good at that one. There seems to be a skill that he has.
There is no way. Actually, e mega good în Ahri. Trebuie să faci Akali. E bun în ele. Akali, 100%. Come on, Akali. E Akali.
Hovering it for the moment. The crowd not excited about it. Not even a little bit. As it is going to be locked in.
I'm underwhelmed.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, Imo Akali era ok și în Seju și în Ione.
I think you need something more than this on the other side. Just having Skarner and Gnar is nice, but comparing 3 to 3, BLG's champion.
S-a bucurat lumea așa mult pe Rumble?
Especially if you start to ban away a lot of these
No idea.
carries as well that can just play awkwardly in the bottom
O să meargă la fel, omul ăla de mai downfall-ul? Ia, am văzut, o să joace cu Vampiros ăla, care e actually destul de bun.
Maybe you go for an Ezreal ban, maybe you try and force something like the Xayah and Rakan here for Viper and Delight on this bottom side, but overall it just feels like a little bit awkward for Hanwha with how much firepower they've given to BLG.
I think there are options on the bottom side of the map to try and alleviate it, right? Some of the classic mega hyper carries that just do massive amounts of DPS in the late game, thinking like Jinx on 4 items and things like that.
I think that's so hard into like a Yone Rumble.
Dar la fiecare match, pentru că e foarte strong, da. Chiar și bun ar fi în continuare foarte strong. Lumea zicea că nu o să fie luat deloc, că și-a luat nerf prea mare, Merly, dar pur și simplu ulta lui e mult prea broken. Ezreal Bounce, Kalista plus Ezreal maybe? PMF? Cred că Ezreal e better.
Snowball of bans here with Ashe baiting the Kalista ban, and then maybe like Kai'Sa and Ezreal being banned as well, but with Ezreal banned,
trebuie să ia de carry.
with both of them having decent things.
Poți să iei Kai'Sa și apoi las pick support counter. Mai e și Lucian Nami, dar nu cred că vrei să joci Lucian Nami aici, right? Kai'Sa take away. Deci o să ia Xayah Rakan în Kai'Sa, pentru că Xayah e ok în Kai'Sa.
That's the trade.
Yep, and brings us back, doesn't it, to all those years past, where it was Xayah versus Kai'Sa every single game.
Nu mai supăr cu meta asta de tank și jungle, nu vreau să mă joc jungle. Se poate să mă joc altceva. Bro, nu știu ce meta de tank joci. Te referi în solo cu ce te joci tu sau te referi ce joacă ăștia în competitiv? În competitiv asta se joacă pentru că asta e nevoie. Mai vezi pe locuri cât un league, cât un ceva, dar în solo queue nu vezi tank niciodată. Chiar nu trebuie să-l permabanezi dacă vrei să te joci jocul. Pentru că Skarner cu 0-5 te bate. De perma CC. Și poți să joci lejer, Lee, Jarvan, Viego, Elise, Nico, jungle. Dar fără solo că se joacă ceva care nu vor să audierie slab și Assassinii și tot. Ai Assassinii și Lethality Champ sunt super slab, sunt de acord cu tine. Lethality e într-un stadiu foarte teribil. Dar ai o grămadă de picuri bune în solo pe ce poți să joci. Lee, Viego, Jarvan, Elise, Nico, după cum am spus, poți să joci și altceva. Evident, ai mai puțin damage decât aveai înainte, dar aș alege picurile astea peste Sejuani și Skarner, oricum. Diana e strong.
But because we want as many games as possible, that's
going
to even things out, bring us to that best of 3. Guarantee at least 4 games here in this quarterfinal. BLG, I think, poised to get there with the draft that they have, but I don't think draft was all that relevant in game number 1. It was just about the gameplay, the control.
Casterul a zis că draftul n-a fost așa important în game 1.
So often you got that first Void Grub fight, complete whiff on a combo. Then you get into the later portion of the game, Peanut doing a phenomenal job of disrupting that combo
nu sunt de acord.
Sunt
masiv drag și am putea joace fight.
That relies on teamwork, that relies on your team being together, and we're going to have to see if BLG can pull it off.
Well, let's jump onto the Rift and have a look at it as Delight. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay there, buddy?
I was checking on our spectator. They were able to get a lot of damage down on him, but there were no summoner spells that ultimately had to be burned, so it's going to be a non-eventful move there, but now because Alistair had to recall, it's allowing them time to...
Vorbiri OP solo kill. Am jucat versus Volley de câteva ori, nu mi se pare că e chiar atât de OP, dar e jucabil for sure. Spray de nidale, oribil. Ala prea multe nerfuri. Obișnuit să fie perma banul meu, dar nu banesc nidale momentan, pentru că nici măcar one trece de nidale nu se joacă nidale.
Having a look towards any lane swap shenanigans, and it looks like we have an affirmative on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yet
Așa
another
să
lane
joacă.
swap.
N-am văzut niciun opțion
I
de
think pretty happy about
de
this.
când a început sezonul, bro.
Just planting him in mid lane very early on, hoping he gets level 2. If he gets level 2, they can then plant him and Gnar bot lane to prevent a wave stack dive.
The thing is, though, we haven't actually had a push from Mama in that top side right now. You can see Doran moving up there as Viper has gone into this bottom, or sorry, into this jungle to try and push Shun off. Shun did manage to steal the blue buff, now on towards Wolves as well, so BLG going to be faster when it comes to the execution.
Yeah, Peanut going to move on over, smites away the big wolf.
Și-a dat și unul mic.
Doesn't get both of the little ones, but Shun only being able to walk away with one Merc Wolf.
Peanut always trying some different form of pathing. He was so dominant in the LCK all year, being incredibly creative, and here goes Raptors to Wolves, steals away the Wolf, now takes Gromp, and then can clear up to the top side. And also...
Bă, ce creativitate zice Caster, frate, că e literally basic pathing de lane swap. Începi la Raptor și te duci la lupii lui. Ăla poate să facă doar unul din campurile alea 3. Poate să facă ori blue, cum a făcut, ori poate să facă blue start, ăsta, loop start și dă din noi la un camp extra. Și practic dă 3 de... Are plus 1 camp și are doar minus 1 camp.
Peanut just travels all the way out of there, hurls a rock backwards.
De ce ții cu Hanwha Life? E o întrebare genuine. Pentru că îmi plac jucătorii din Hanwha mult mai mult. Adică îmi place Delight super mult cum a jucat în turnul ăsta, Viper îmi place încă de când juca de la... Am un lapsus. Când juca cu Chovy, îmi place Viper, Peanut, m-a chemat Peanut fanboy la un moment dat în 2019, parcă, solo queue for a reason. Nu prea-mi place Doran și Zeka e foarte bun, dar nu cu siguranță își prefer Knight peste Zeka când vine vorba de preferințe personale. Neapărat că e un jucător mai bun Knight, sau nu e foarte bun. Dar da, îmi plac mai mult jucători din Hanwha decât îmi plac din BLG. Griffin, așa, Griffin.
And so far, no harm, no foul. Just a bit of an advantage given by almost purely plate gold. Like that is the only gold that's providing the lead here for BLG.
Și cred că până că te ură ca câteva pasă astea, nu. Nu știu.
Just a successful standard swap where you're sacrificing the plate gold for the experience.
Just say they did a lane swap and now we're going to have the game.
But I mean, now we actually see Kai'Sa moving back down as to like.
Cu siguranță Delight e suportul meu preferat din turneu.
Yep, trying to buy some time for the cannon there as well. Very cute little headbutt just to try and see whether Vibe can actually get down there and pick that one up. Alright, does miss that cannon there. Jonas Strong would give a little zoom in from our observer team, but not going to get it this time around. Definitely some more important things to focus on here. Zeka with that teleport just now on cooldown, Knight the same thing.
Cred că a luat Ahri și nu Akali, pentru că aveau nevoie de wave clear, I guess, maybe? Sau better follow-up la Skarner, nu neapărat full all-in. Aici pe de flash-ul. N-are flash, nevermind. Nu scoate kill-ul, nu Nice! E good flash din partea lui Pirat în caz v-a întrebat, bă, de ce și-a dat flash, are 70% HP. Dacă nu dă flash și procuiește stun-ul, avea agro de la 6 range minions, își lua stun și pierdea foarte mult damage. Mi s-a întâmplat, nu ar fi murit. Sau și-a fi dat flash-ul prea târziu și... Minionii dau foarte mult de se că nu era Drix sau Drix nu este Drix, cred că există și da, era, știa toți că e în 2020. Let's get trade.
We've seen this Doran before and it's not the positive one.
That was cooked. He wanted to try and make a big play.
Cred că o să fie 2-0 pentru Hanwha. Apoi o să-l bage pe Wave.
but he just went for it. Ends up giving over
Se duce și spune coachului, Wei, stai nițel că se termină, ne elimină așa în turneu, bagă și mine să joc un meci. Și o să zică, bine, Wei.
Big mistake there by Doran.
And Pino will get spotted out on this dragon as well, so... Oh, actually, I think they might go for the replay dive.
Oh, the equalizer goes down. Doran
E prea bun son, nu mai, never mind. E prea bun son.
Also destroyed, and Doran is just not in this game anymore.
That ward spotting out Pino was crucial there. The control ward sees him and immediately BLG were like, we could go for the point grubs, or we could just take Doran out of this game entirely. A 1.1k gold lead for the Rumble.
That is actually game ending if BLG can play this out. When that happens,
Ok, trebuie să iasă chestia asta, trebuie să iasă chestia asta, trebuie să iasă chestia asta, trebuie să iasă chestia asta. Nu iese chestia asta. Ce și cum ai de aici?
And they know they have to get out. Don't want to give him space for that.
Pierde și grabs, nu poate să ia dragonul, au scăpat și adversarii. Și level 4 Skarner versus level 6 Sejuani. Hi, Delight.
They spotted Delight hex splashing into the brush, or maybe they did. Not entirely sure.
It is crazy because bot lane is our Mercedes-Benz feature matchup, but we have not got a chance to talk about this at all the entire time because all that action has been top. But Delight and Viper have been doing a great job of punishing the Zyra Khan.
Care e chestia în care să nu locuit pe Wei? Nu e o chestie aparte, bro. Pur și simplu în funcție de cum performează în scrim-uri și în seria anterioară se bagă sau celălalt. Ambii jucători sunt foarte, foarte buni. Nu e neapărat 5-man roster plus de rezervă, e un 6-man roster în care îți alegi junglerul bazat. Poate să funcționeze în funcție de adversarul versus care te joci. De exemplu, poate Xun e mai bun pe Sejuani decât Wei și Wei e mai bun pe Vi. Și dacă tu îți faci draftul astfel încât să te joci utility jungler, îl prefer pe ăsta. Cu toate că sunt conștient de faptul că Xun e probabil cel mai bun jucător de Kindred și carry champions. Ok, gen nu săriți în cap, încearcă. Dar sunt mai mulți factori pentru care, bazat pe care alege coachul.
Has a little bit of a look, clears one ward in the bush, doesn't even walk all the way into the river to clear the control ward. It looks stable for now for Doran, so if I was HLE, I definitely want to just play away from the Rumble and try and like ignore it for a little bit until you can actually have more equal power on it.
Poți să scoți un jucător să-l bagi în jocul lor. I mean, poți să faci schimbarea atâta timp cât o faci la pauză, bro, între meciuri. Nu vedem asta foarte, foarte des, nu sunt multe echipe cu rostere de genul. Majoritatea echipelor păstrează un roster de 5 și aia joacă mereu. Pentru că dacă ai un jucător extra, jucătorul ăla extra o să fie mereu extra pressure pe jucătorul al cărui rol îl joacă.
Half his health bar, but otherwise everything is okay. Delight moving on over. That could be big.
Plus că e un extra salariu pe care trebuie să-l plătești.
With grubs and everything else coming up very, very soon. There is the dragon
already up
the
match
here. As BLG move over to take it.
Toate că ar fi o schimbare, ar fi ceva interesant, sincer. Să vezi că cineva e foarte, foarte, foarte stresat și să zici ok, change. Păi pauză, se ridică de pe scaun și stă celălalt. Dar nu e realistic, pentru că realistic vorbind, chat, n-ai cum să faci asta din moment ce dacă schimbi jucătorul trebuie să stai să schimbi toate setările, trebuie să fie ăla confortabil.
Moments like we saw before when they actually pushed HLE off Drake while undermanned while they were taking grubs, and since they have such a point of pressure here top lane with Rumble, they're also able to play as if they have him this entire time.
Nu ai cum să-i schimbi numele în meci, o să scrie în continuare buildup chiar dacă joacă celălalt.
Because Rumble is so much stronger, so they're just leveraging this power that they have across the entire map to grow their lead.
Not a whole lot of money, as we can see here, Ben just extracting all of it from his pockets.
Nice.
He is very, very powerful right now. Charm going to connect there on tonight. Not exactly consequential at this point in time.
It is a very early reset from the Homo Life bot lane, though.
I think they're trying to set up for potential play in the enemy here off of Doran, but Doran now hitting his Mega Gnar will kind of put a little bit of pressure on, but still, Pino moving on to the look for honor, so maybe this mid lane as they try and set up for the Void Grubs in 20 seconds.
See Zekar actually able to lay down a fair bit of harassment here onto Ignite, might give him a little bit of an inroad into making something happen on these grubs in 14 seconds time. As we can see, some vision up and available now. Peanut trying to clear out as much as he can as Viper and Delight get into position.
I think it's so hard to contest this. They did just get Malignance onto the Ahri though, so that might be the item that gives them confidence. But with Locket on the Sejuani, BLG is so strong right now.
Yep, teleport immediately coming back. The Rumble on the bottom side of the map is giving HLE some sort of confidence here. As On's going to get tagged. There's a headbutt pulverize. As Peanut not quite able to grab him, does head over towards Shun now. Pretty tanky, and now the charm comes in. There's the knockup. They look to blow them up at night into the impale, but it does not matter. The damage had already happened. Peanut now in the back of this pit, just wanting to get out if he can. He's not going to be able to. Delight just hightails it out of there, and that should be 6 scrubs and a team fight win for BLG.
And this is just a completely different BLG. They're the ones that are set up first on the objective, and I gotta say, what is HLA thinking? This was such an easy setup by BLG. Rumble.
Dacă reușea să-l prindă pe Rakan combo în Skarner E în perete, în râs și omora pe Rakan înainte să folosească orice, era bun.
They had already burnt that cleanse. Immediately turn on towards Viper, and they thought that they might have had this push coming up river with the Ahri that they could look for a play.
Asta e planul aici. Alistar combo în Skarner E, doar că uite, acolo se dea instant. Rakan e un campion balansat și are 6 miliarde de dash.
Yeah, another battle here as Doran getting burnt down. Elk not going to be diving a turret anytime soon. Not wanting to put that Feather Storm on cooldown, so they are just going to back away, but Doran is absolutely a punching bag this game, as we call it in the LCK, the orange buff of the top lane.
Oh, they want more though. There's still plates up. They want to collect. They have 6 grubs, so just a few hits can mean so much. And playing from ahead is BLG's specialty. When they're able to get early game advantages, what happened domestically through a lot of laning phases, they can accelerate the game so fast because they're still willing to play high-risk League of Legends, so they'll be in places where you don't expect them to be, but with the Yone, Sejuani, Rumble, their ability to create and force fights from ahead is massive.
Also the fact you just started to see all those first items completed. Essence Reaver, Blade of the Rune King. Oh yeah. Here in fighting form here is Billy, and they want to put the hurt onto Hanwha. HLE trying to use that moment where they reset though to get pressure on towards topside. But Bin just easily clears out this wave. Didn't have to even invest the ultimate that's about to pop up in a second. And with 40 seconds until that Rift Herald's up, it's actually Elk who's on the bottom side clearing out these waves, so it may be a Rift Herald trade for that bottom tier 2 that BLG are actually looking for.
Might be able to get there. I do really like how BLG have just been sitting back, right? They've been taking the advantages that Humalife Esports are giving them and then not pressuring overly much. Some of the games that we've seen from BLG previously this year have certainly been a lot more fast and loose. This does feel like the BLG that absolutely dominated the playoffs here in summer. And this is so far away from what we saw the rest of this tournament.
And the disappointing thing is this big like draft gambit, this story of giving Yone for this Ahri counter. That's not the reason that any of this happened. The reason that this has happened is because Bin has just taken advantage of Doran along with Shun, and that has snowballed throughout the map. And HLE has made several really risky kind of panic plays to try and correct that differential, but it's just made things worse.
Well, now you can see Viper moving on over. There's a headbutt pulverize only onto Shun though, hit by the charm, but now on. He gets his way in there. Knight looking.
Nu este counterplay. Orice CC Ion în râu ți-ai one tap.
Just not allowed to have fun. And BLG, they'll just grab 2 right
Just
as the dragon is
Ion.
spawning.
Okay, that one looked like the Yone. I feel like Yone was the difference in that fight because that was ridiculous. Ahri is just dead this whole series. Whether you're dead against Poppy or whether you're dead against the Yone, not even allowed to play the game.
And it's the fact that BLG are able to play so aggressive with this composition as well. The reason Yone is so broken is he can play like an assassin, dive in onto the backline, but has a ton of safety being able to go back to his soul. Same when you look at Elk, he always has the flash, has that ultimate available. He can follow up and fights incredibly well. So when Delight has to engage onto the front line of BLG, it's very easy for BLG to turn it around. Now it's pressure on the bottom side. That tower will fall to these minions, and the rotation now back up towards that top side.
Ok, cum poate Hanwha să facă comeback în ăsta?
Just how much gold BLG is
Nu
growing
poate.
here.
Da, glumesc. Singurul moment în care poate să facă comeback Hanwha e să-l prindă pe Rakan, să forțeze cu ultimata de Skarner și Alistar să fie mai mult disrupt în caz că Ione dă ultă de cineva să intre pe Ione să-i dea disrupt. Pentru că mereu dăm combo de alistar, încercăm să facem setup. Și apoi se dau ei CC-ul plus CNR pe orice target și targetul ăla nu are de nu greșit nimic.
I think so as well. They get good vision.
Trebuie să iasă chestia. Go!
But at the same time, they're pressuring other parts of the map right away. Zio was able to
Ai
show
pierd
the mid lane.
mid-ul, e bad.
Threatening Doran off the top turn once
Bad
again.
rotația
So
oricum.
that's
Puteau să piardă mid-ul deja dacă
initially.
lovea
The most
Xayah.
impressive thing for me
Pierd
by
și top.
BLG this game is the way that their aggression is measured. They're still deathless, but they've controlled every objective.
Okay, nice
and
work.
as I say that, they
Featherstorm
pull
is
off
going to
another
come
big
out.
play.
Yeah, that is going to be just a blade caller to keep Peanut in his tracks, and they're not able to do anything. Of course, getting the Featherstorm, a big deal if there is going to be a potential fight that HLE are in any position to win, but I don't know whether there's going to be any of those.
Tu ești lucky de alistar combo și one-shot lui Xayah, tot pierzi pentru că au Ione. Și Rumble pe Spike. Unless moare Rumble. Unless...
But Zekker is here to try and defend Doran still. It's just going to be a kill in the 2v1, and Ben's looking to scrap shield as well. It's Zekker that has to flash to pick it up, and now he may not even be safe. Knight and Shun making their way up to try and get revenge for their top laner.
Bro.
But it's already a 1-for-1. The ulti's going to connect now. It's in melee range. I don't think this Ahri's going to have a very good time at all. Spear Rush comes out, but caught by the knock-up. Just
Cred că zic acum e ceva de genul, prea să mă joc Akali.
Go up against Ben. What in the mid?
All right, Elk might be going down this time. No Featherstorm this time around. As there's the flash out of the blade core. They needed everything to kill him, but at least they get that.
So even if they lose this game, Viper's still incredible.
He's really good.
He's still able to do whatever he wants. He's going to have to execute here, and this is
No,
actually what it takes for HLE to get 2 kills. It's not even a positive play. They lost 3 people when all is said is done. They lost their inner tier 2. Objective bounties just turned on as a result of that play. So the best thing that HLE did this game was still gold negative.
And the fact that Ben is a level up 1,000 gold, you can see just how much damage he does, and he does a really good job of getting away from this position. The ultimate onto Doran is in a great spot. The scrap shield,
double full
perfect,
combo
but
și
this is what
Rumble
we're
n-a
talking
murit
about.
încă.
When you have an Ahri, she lacks that crucial damage. So the fact that Ben is able to turn on towards Doran, because Doran lacks damage as well, means he just barely gets in. And BLG, after getting the mid lane, are able to move up and catch out Zekker. Knight looking great on this Yone.
Yeah, insult to injury as well. Zeka gets the dash interrupted.
And then Viper dies to Rumble as well, so Ben just picks up another kill. Like,
Cât de merge are Ione? Da, nu prea l-am văzut până acum în turneu și e ok, o să-l baneze în următorul meci. Până acum nu știu, ok, broken man.
At least Doran does now complete his Trinity Force. Why I even really needed to mention it, because to be perfectly honest, he is so far behind, doesn't even really feel like an item spike anymore. Zekker heading towards item number 2 as quickly as he possibly can. The light coming on over. Still haven't seen an honest 5v5 team fight just yet, and we may not for the rest of this game. There should be nothing to force BLG into doing it, as now Headbutt Pulverize is going to connect on to Elk. Blade Caller comes through. Delight with that ultimate running is looking okay, but there's the red carpet put down. Doran, can you get to the Mega Gnar? That's the question, but already the fight might just be over. The Gnar only one, even though he was surrounded, and it's Knight that collects another kill. 5-0-1 on this Yone.
What are you supposed to do as Hanwha? The objective isn't even up, and your entire bottom side jungle has just been taken over by BLG. Their team fighting is really coming alive with this style of composition.
And Max, there will be no honest fight. It can never be fair with this level of income inequality. I think we've learned that from society, but it's definitely present in this game.
And the funny thing was, this is a very reminiscent of this Worlds last year when BLG played up against Gen G. Game 2 was very heavily BLG favor, but they want to change it here as Hanwha.
Well, Viper's flanking. I don't know whether that's a good thing, but maybe it's going to work out here. The killer instinct is exactly that, as Elk is going to go down first, but it's a trade of 80 carries into the back line of the Dragon Pit goes Shun, and now he's looking to try and lock down the cow. They've rebuilt the Phalanx. The triple meltdown from Knight is absolutely gorgeous. They still managed to take him down, though, and there's a wallop from Doran. The team fighting Nam may have actually found something here, as Peanut is looking to push Ben away. The wallop is going to connect. What is happening? This should not be happening.
Hanwha saw no ultimates on BLG. They said, this is our moment. We need to go. And Hanwha find the perfect fight with seconds remaining on some of these ultimates.
Objective bounty collected as well. Viper started it all by being able to take Elk down with the income discrepancy, and then it was the Yone who flew into the Mega Gnar. So let's watch this one more time. BLG is overstaying because they feel like they can, but it was the charm actually from Zeka that gets Elk down low enough for Viper to execute in the first place, and then really just amazing Mega Gnar timing, and Zeka kept getting Ari alt reset, so Doran hits Mega right there, one shot to the Yone.
Crucial charm from Zeka as well on towards Nice. Yeah. Could have gone back with his E, but the charm into the door and knock around. But BLG, what
Baron? Nice replay.
I guess that whole fight from before is just not even real. And now with a purple buff on the 5 members of BLG, they should be able to just completely reclaim entire control of the game. And of course, it's one Infernal Drake for HLE that they're able to pick up. Of course, Bounty Gold is nice. But the map still belonged to BLG.
You're saying that that last Drake fight was just a big red herring.
It did feel a bit herringy,
Yeah, interesting, because you're right, the gold lead is probably bigger now than it was before the fight.
Especially with this turret going down, that will extend to about 2K. 2.2, in fact, is now some defense of these inhibitor turrets is going to have to come on through. 4 members in the mid lane, though I don't think they're saving that one as Knight is probably dead. The flash has to be used. There's a max range impale. It is going to be the turret going down. And so they still lose that. However, Humalife back on the map now.
Zeka TP'd in after killing a turret.
Don't know about that one on the equalizer now, but the Spirit Rush is up and available, and he's able to dash his way out. That teleport almost was his death, and at least he survives his own teleport.
It will buy a little bit of time.
De ce are sejoane Tormei second item?
Realistically, it's only just buying them time. They don't get anything off of this.
Adversarii au 0 healing. Ok, nu au crit. Deci nu vrei randuin. Nu poți să faci Frozen Heart pentru că vrei HP din moment ce ai Solari. Îți trebuie HP de undeva. Dar Torment, bro? Hai sau să joace AP, Ahri AP, Alistari AP, Skarnerii 40% AP, Inare AP, pe W, mini range. Asta în mini form. Cred că era mai bun Kainic la Ikern. Sau... Warmog? Why not Warmog? Au foarte mult poke. Solaris în Warmog. Și apoi ți-ar da item să faci Kainic. Sau Abyssal Mask și dai Amp lui Ionel. Rumble.
Let's just try and kill Elk, or let's just try and kill Knight. That gives you a very small chance of actually turning the game around, and a very small chance of just frustrating the other team enough that they can't play. So I think for the experienced teams, just making it last as long as humanly possible, just to annoy the other team, is usually the right play.
Well, we'll see whether HLE can annoy them as they knock on their front doors. Inhibitor turret here towards the bottom side, going to be next on the menu here for BLG. But you can see HLE still pushing them away. Baron buff still up for another 30 seconds, a little bit less than that. BLG will just slink back into the enemy jungle.
Ai văzut că o să scoată ăștia FM-ul pe 2025 acum? Eram hyped pentru iarna asta, dar F.
We mentioned already that there's about 0 range, and so sieging these turrets ain't great, but there's a pulverize under too. Featherstorm has to be used very, very early on, but Elk is still alive. The equalizer goes down.
Nice intrat, a jucat-o bine Xun aici.
But that blade caller was gorgeous. The ulti to come through. The impale is decent as well, and it's Viper that's now trying to pop off in this fight. Somehow.
Bro, nimeni nici dintr-o dată Delight face knock pe 6 oameni. Viper joacă singur? Cred că Delight joacă singur.
Then the ultimate from Bin buys space so the Kai'Sa can't actually get into the fight, and BLG get a moment to rally and push back Hanwha, but still an incredibly close fight there.
And I think HLE is really impressing me with their team fighting from this level of deficit, and I think I'll need to see it again, but the Gnar Skarner frontline is buying a massive amount of space because they get what would be a good engage until it gets dodged by Elk, and you think, okay, now they're going to lose the fight, but
dacă nu-și lua interrupt de la Sejuani Q, n-ar avea mega ult acolo.
And shouldn't actually save that for BLG. It could have been so much worse. The interruption with the Arctic Assault so that Doran couldn't get into the backline. That might have been a one fight for HLE from an 8,000 gold deficit that has now been shrunk.
But now there's no flash on Elk. he becomes a very susceptible target. Knight does have the QSS available, and as we set up here once more, Zeka on his side with Delight. Someone needs to mark him. It looks like Bin's going to be that call.
Well, this is not going to be Soul, but Soul Point available for BLG if they are able to lock this one down. HLE setting up for a bit of a battle. Bin in that fog of war, they have control vision almost everywhere. Pulverize now on cooldown, unable to battle dance his way out of there. Peanut, can you actually get anything done? The Meganon coming on through it. Shun that's able to lock down the smite, but can they win the battle? That's the question. As into the backline they go, there's the charm.
I don't know, nu ai cum să vezi Artic, bro, nu ai cum să vezi Artic aici. Viper?
Shun trying to get out of there and he should be able to do so. Top lane is doing better. Viper gets into the backline and just executes.
N-ai ce să faci, bro, nu ai ce să faci, nu ai ce să faci. Oricât de bun, oricât poți să fii 5 Viper, atât degeaba. N-ai ce să faci în meciul ăsta. Artic își-a one-shot în fiecare fight din Raktan RW pionere. Oh, e deja. Nah, stop picking Artic, just stop picking Artic. Artic nu e răspunsul în Ione, prieteni. Banați Ione. O să ia blue side Hanu acum.
BLG fight back. Giga Bin for me in this game. He dominated Doran in the top lane early here. Blue side each take a game, and this is going to be a hell of a series.
L-a dominat pe... A fost sub turn până s-au întâmplat gank-urile 3 la rând consecutive de sezoane. A fost sub turn, l-a ținut Doran sub turn.
Oh, he's looking absolutely incredible. And the level of that last team fight as well. Both teams knowing exactly what they need to do, man. We are going to go to a short break. When we get back, everyone's going to break that one down and we'll have game number 3. Do not go anywhere. Don't you dare.
These teams are pretty good.
Lui play de Ione chiar e, bro, chiar e. Ione e mult prea OP. Trebuie banat pentru Nelson. E revenit cu draftul din Game 3, bro.
Red Bull gives you wings.
by the charm, but now on. He gets his way in there. Knight looking to just return the favor onto Zeka. He's not allowed to play the game this time around.
G2 is showing up now again.
Oh, the equalizer does go down, but Zeka is here to try and defend Doran. It's just going to be a kill in the 2v1.
BLG take game 2, and Atlas did say it was going to be a blue side diffy because it's incredibly overpowered, and I think this is one of the things that I would like to discuss, because if it is the case, then it's Life again on blue in the next one. That's the side they've selected. Red back to blue, they would win, right? But I don't want to have this reductionist approach to a best of 5 with so many intricacies, but how much was it the blue side, and how much was it the blue side choices that were made, and the approach in the lane swap?
I mean, I don't think it's that much about the side, to be honest. Yes, they did let the Yone through, but I think that was more of a bit of a test to say, okay, we're throwing down the gauntlet. Knight, can you actually have a good game on Yone? Turns out the answer is yes. But I think it was more about execution, and I know Emily wanted to talk about the lane swap. To me, that's where this game was largely decided.
I'm on desk. Let's talk about some lane swaps. So this is basically just going through some key decision making. Prior to this setup, you're going to note that on the mini-map here, we initially had a 2v2 in mid with Zeka and Delight, and then Knight and Bin. Bin is going to TP in up here, and then HLE have a choice, right? Because Doran is still here. They could either send Doran bot, because right now, this bot lane is pushing hard in for BLG, right? And Shun actually was able to get his own blue. He did get the big wolf stolen from him, but then he's able to path here, go into the red side jungle as well. So he's going to get a good jungle start off of this additionally. And then this sets up, Bin is actually able to play this out, gets all this XP. He's in a great spot. Meanwhile, on the bot side, BLG zone off Delight completely because he's by himself, right? And so the big question is, now that Doran's here, do you go for the entire 4-man dive, right, and swap, or not? And what this ends up setting up is this setup onto Doran, where he just did not have a good time. Shun was responding to every peanut gank, and then he just kept revisiting topside.
And that is something that we know Doran does. And I think part of it is a run-of effect. The game state was already rough, but he has been known to try and dig himself out of a rough situation, only to end up even further underneath the ground. And unfortunately, with that repeat gank from Shun, that was the case here.
For the uninitiated, was HLE bad at lane swaps?
No, not really. I think that just in this specific instance, BLG really outplayed them.
Well, I mean, to me, I think they were bad in lane swaps in this game.
Well, yeah,
because at the end of the day, it's like, they just tried to do two things. And I think in a lane swap, you have to commit fully to doing one thing really, really well. If you kept the light top and did a 4-man dive, I think that Bin dies. And if you actually just TP Doran down to bot and you can hold the tower too, I think that works well too.
What do you mean? They did commit to running it down. It got out of hand real quick is what I'm trying to say here. And I think that's also to the credit of BLG, right? You have to catch if someone throws. But I also think they had the initiative. They had the blue side. They had Knight on Yone, which I think was passed with flying colors to say something, but this isn't really a game state in which it was too difficult for him.
Yeah, and we're going to see some awesome Knight Yone gameplay in combination. Bin also increasing that rumble. If he's trying to beat the I don't want my team to make me play rumble, it's not working. He's going to have to keep playing it. But I think the big thing for me is this is classic BLG. Really, really pushing their advantages hard when they get them. This was the top team in the LPL, and it was great to see Knight pop off on this Yone because it was a risk to leave it open. And
I just think it's always interesting in these games, you know, what is the takeaway for HLE from this game? Is it that, oops, we should have banned Yone, or is it that, darn, we actually messed up the lane swap and Yone wasn't a problem? So, you know, their takeaway from this kind of gets a little bit confusing because of all the other issues.
Well, that's the main thing, because you can come out of this game if they got effectively perfect game. There was no hope. But it got kind of muddied by the way that Hanwha Life was still able to win a bunch of fights. And what is the takeaway from Hanwha Life? I think the Yone should be off limits for the rest of the game, but how are they going to feel? Because still the team fighting, even though I think On in particular had an incredible team fighting game, from Hanwha Life, brought this game back to a state where it felt like BLG could have actually kind of lost control. Obviously, they pulled it back and were able to close it out clean nonetheless.
You tell me, what do you think they should take from it now that they're on blue again?
I think that we have clearly identified that the RE is not working for either side, given what we've seen. But I do also agree with Isaac that it was mainly the early game decisions, I think, that really hamstrung Humble Life. If Humble Life can find these fights while still being this far behind, a relatively even game state with what I've seen thus far in the series will always favor
I mean,
them.
they were 7 or 8,000 gold behind, right? If you take some of these fights that were this close, when you're down 2 or 3K even just a little bit, it could have easily gone their way. So it is a little bit interesting. Obviously, they are going to be going back to blue side. I think everyone's going to be favoring blue side in this meta because there's so many must bans on red. But I'm really excited to see what the next evolution is.
I do want to give BLG credit for immediately pivoting and draft. Like the Poppy, the Silas, one of the biggest pieces of criticism that we saw to a lot of teams last year was not adapting in the best of 5. They do it after game 1.
Yeah, and we're wow, nice thing.
Yeah, I know, synchronization. And now they have a tough time, right? Because they're back on red. They don't want to give up Yone. They don't want to give up Aurora. But that means they have to then decide, okay, is it the Silas? Because we already know Zeka is going to first pick it. Is it the Poppy? Do we not want Peanut on that? We don't think the Silas was a problem. So back to Isaac's draft point over here, I'm also curious to see what BLG cite as that first round pick that they want to take off the table in addition to the Aurora and Yone, or if we'll see them full open it and the Aurora versus the Yone then comes in.
Okay, I see. All right, casters, what's it going to be? B1 and R1, tell me right now.
We've actually been having this whole discussion, and we can't actually figure it out. Do you go for the trade? Do you allow the Aurora and the Yone to be up? Do you say, well, maybe we can just beat this Poppy and Silas that Humble Life Esports put together last time if we're able to actually win a fight earlier on around the grubs, things like this. Maybe we don't have that game warping play. Like, I think that there's so many different things that you can do, but I think the most likely, to me, is you just throw it all out, right? You say, like, Aurora, Yone, we'll leave them both up and just see what happens.
Well, I think especially when you
never
want...
mind.
Okay,
I take it all back.
But I think it is curious to see if this Jax ban gets dropped, because Poppy, the Silas, personally, I feel like were bigger issues than actually a Jax coming through for Doran. So I am curious if that third ban here after the Yone I expect to come through on red side here for Billy does end up opening up into something a bit different.
For sure, and since we're back on blue side, the game 1 bans when HLE was blue side was Kalista, Renekton, and Skarner, and the BLG bans
Ok,
were
Kalista, Skarner,
Aurora,
Aurora blue side din nou. Ione trebuie banat. Ok, banat de ăștia nu vor joace în el. Nu sunt la fel de curajoși.
But having a different thing to pick against it for Knight, that looks to me like the direction that we're going. The order did change for HLE, so they're waiting on this Renekton ban to see if they want to keep it because
Trebuie să fie semi-draft în meciul ăla. Mă refer banuri pe 1, 2, 3. Dar că nu cred că să mai baneze Jax. Vai. Why ban Vi? Poppy încă open.
Probably could be something else. Ezreal is going to be the ban instead. Really interesting that they leave open the Silas this time around and the Poppy.
It says to me that they kind of identified, look, we want to play dive against Hamwa.
Poate o să ia Sela stick-ul. Bro. Pe cringe. Le-au dat base ea Jax-ul ca să ia Silas first pick. Și acum poți să joci Artic Silas, nu? Nu mai ai nici bai.
Well, I think this is really interesting because I think what BLG identified was, hey, if we give the Jax,
we can actually take the Ash,
because the Silas problem is that if we take Ash, the enemy team gets an Ash ult, right? But now you're in a position where you have a good matchup as the Silas. You don't have that solo way Ash hour. You basically win it on bot lane.
E bun atunci când adversarii au 3-4 milii champions.
I am a big BLG fan right now from the first 2 picks because
Ahri luată în Silas a arătat foarte bine în primul meci. Abia aștept să o mai vedem o dată. Volibear face sens, by the way. Vrei ceva? Sau Seju? Ia Seju Jax, what? Aș fi Seju îi dai ultă prie de Silas.
All I'm saying is, Bin used to be called I Love Camille. So... yeah, always an angle for him to just match firepower with firepower, right? And especially when you've already got a lot of dive, you've got that set up from the Ashe. You don't necessarily need that coming through from your top half of the map either. But I'm going to try and take the Rakan away from Delight, but also very strong pick for him, it looks like. But dual Freljord?
The good old Freljord bottom lane could be coming on through, although the Gnar, as we've seen, sort of surging in priority, going to be an answer here. Depends on who you ask, but
O să
some can
baneze
say a
Brown.
self-counterpick. We know that
Ăștia o să
Steve has been
baneze
pretty outspoken
suport
saying that Jax
și
is gonna win from this matchup, but
BLG o să baneze
certainly being seen as all sorts of different things over the years.
Edis, o să baneze Xayah.
The fact that Jax still got
Care
first
să?
picked, the fact that Renekton didn't get picked
Chestiile de
whatsoever,
ban deja.
but I still really do like the 1-2-3 here.
Ea o să
from
baneze
BLG.
Xayah, cred.
I think the
E
biggest
bună
problem is
și în
actually
Mega
the
Gnar
fact
și
that
în
Nocturne
Sylas
fell
și
off
în
it.
Ashe.
It makes it kind of difficult for BLG to work together on the dive with a Sylas and an
Ăștia o să
Arc.
baneze
It also
Brown
leaves his Ashe very
plus...
vulnerable. So as everyone jumps in onto the back line,
Seju?
Ashe is kind of left on her lonesome, and in theory she has the range, but
E Seju
you
face
don't really
sens cu
have anyone
Sylas, I
to
guess.
sit beside her. So I'm curious if we even get something like a Renata to nearly round out this composition 4 on, just to give some sort of backline support to Ashe in this
Pe ce de
And
Nocturne?
we'll see
Un
what
pic
type of
oribil.
flexibility BLG can show because I think
Și sper
they
să
can
pierdă
actually
Hanwha
absorb
live.
with these 3 picks at the
Meciul
moment.
ăsta.
They were hovering Braum, and if that Renata ban is real, which I think it is, I think they can still take Braum and just absorb a lot of this dive.
Nu vrei să iei Braum, vrei să iei junglă și Braum pe 5 în caz că iau engage support. Nu vrei să dai blind la Braum. Bruh. De ce aia ascunde jungle? Vezi deja Nocturne, just pick jungle. Rulează. Na, e la memă. Presează. Bro, jur că n-am nici mai mică idee de ce să ia suport aici. Ca să ascunzi jungle, ca să ce? Puteau să dea counterpick pe bot. Toată lumea era fericită.
Seen her for a while.
Yeah, I think it was to try and deny the Xayah Rakan coming through from Hanwha and kind of having that safety for the dive. Zeri is what he is. It's been a long
Zeri
one
of the
since we've seen
tournament.
this. Yeah.
Okay. And Delight is going to lock away the rel at the
Să
same
ia seara
time.
Khan?
Look.
Păi și dacă ia, bro.
Yeah, they are.
So what?
They're going in. We'll see. We'll see about the Zeri. I figured they're lane swapping anyway, and they're going to have so much power through the Jax R that they can kind of just wait.
Vede ăștia care luau junglă și acum pe 5 luau Poppy. Luau Poppy în Zeri rel. De ce? Zeri rel, Jax, Ashe. Mega Poppy angle. Până și în junglă puteau să ia. Dar Nocturne e ok, presupun că poți să dai cancel-ul rel și bun și Nocturne. I mean, draftul a fost GG pentru BLG în 1, 2, 3, dar 4, 5 dezamăgitor. Nu mi se pare chiar atât de opresiv pe Xayah Rakan. By the way, poți să le dai Xayah Rakan și apoi iei Ashe cu ceva... Ok, poate nu e Braum pe 5, dar poți să iei ceva suport, să-i domni, să-i strici în linie.
For all intents and purposes, and one of them has more mobility than the other. So playing around both paranoias is, I think, going to be very confusing for us, but something that both of these teams really do need to take into account as well.
Puteai să iei și Maokai pe 4. Luai Maokai pe 4, Sylas Gnar și pe 5 suport.
You win this and you have so much extra leeway in this series. And you can choose which side you win on if they manage to take it this time.
And I think getting a red side win if they're able to do so is just so valuable. The reason they are in the situation where they don't have the blue side priority is because they were a 3-2 team in the Swiss stage, so they didn't have side select coming in, and then the loser of every game in the series gets choice the next time. So if BLG did win this one, even if HLE could choose blue in game 4, if they then won game 4, BLG could get blue game 5. So it's just an extra little wrinkle that would really put them in the driver's seat if they win.
Certainly would. It's like losing a service game, right? And that is not great when it comes to tennis, unless you're really good at necessarily being a server. It's a different game and not one that I'm all that familiar with, so we're going to get off that topic.
You're brave to go down that one because I've got no experience in tennis.
I like that Roger Federer guy. He was pretty cool. I was sad when he retired. It's okay. Knight is going to find Delight. And Delight is just going to crash his way out of there.
All right, 15 love.
Spells needed.
Deuce?
Yeah, do we have...
Ce care se întâmplă ceva la
We're done. Did you actually just go from 15 love to deuce like straight away? Damn, it's like a triple kill. Okay, beautiful. Well, we're grouping. We're trying to get something done here. As Peanut, some Dustbringer value as Doran off to the side, avoids a little bit as the volley does come on through, slows him down momentarily, but he does make his way out. Delight was ready for the crash over the wall. Zeka moving on in now, so will we have some relatively normal lanes? That's the question.
Este de double sword, deci practic match.
Yeah, and the fact that Bin is already on this lane and the bottom side hasn't shown is kind of given an opportunity to get that push. You can see Doran immediately trying to get on towards this bottom side. Going to invest the TP again, so very similar to level 1. Now getting nice damage here.
That's a flash in from On, going to go for that grand entrance. Viper already having to flash as Delight crashes his way up, but already Viper down to half health and without one of his summoner spells, one of the most crucial ones as they look to match this lane swap.
And the early Ashe laning phase, being able to catch them like that as well as getting the early flash
Ashe e broken. Da, n-a fost broken în play și nici în early start-ul de turnament. Totuna e să l-ai pe Elk, pe Ashe, alta e să ai.
So really good. It's a little bit of a flip when you're doing these send both duo lanes top type of lane swap prevention methods, but BLG win this one.
I'm also curious what On does off this crash. Not going to look for any sort of invade, I believe, is shown actually, although he is not doing his red buff, so maybe they want to look for some sort of play. No, he's just going to, finish his red buff there, but I think he might need to come and cover mid, because Knight getting a hell of a lot of damage put down with Zika. Has just ticked over to level 3, so we'll have access to all of his abilities, but not in the best of spots in this early stages.
This is the true mirror matchup, right? As far as our game number 1 is concerned, as in goes Doran, looking for Bin here momentarily to hop out. Mean that the Nara is just fine, hitting that Mega Nara as well. I'm very interested to see how this mid lane matchup's going to go, because do you know what? I just want to see Ari do okay in this lane. As you're exactly right, Shun, looking for a little bit of an angle here, as I love it. We've got matching spooky skins as well from our junglers, so jungler skinergy, I think, is actually very, very important, and we do have it here between Peanut and Shun.
And speaking about the Ari versus Sylas matchup, if it goes anything like it went the first time when opposite players were playing it, the Ari does win early. It's range versus melee. You have slightly better wave clear early on in the game. It's just if Sylas keeps it close and then has adequate items, steals your Ari ultimate, you're just better than Ari at that stage in the game. So that's how it played out in the first game. Zeka actually was down about 15 CS as the Sylas, around like 100 to 85 was the break point that I saw. So it looks to be starting that way in this one.
Well, Doran here getting the shove in. And Bin just going to be catching the wave, but Doran actually doing a decent job. And I do want to talk about this because I think that Doran gets a lot of flack as a top laner, and I think that is, you know, thanks to me in a lot of part, right? Like, I think that a lot of us have been pretty critical of this guy. His Jax has been really good. And as far as Jax play is concerned, he's very different to that of, you know, Bin's Jax, for example, that just destroys 1v1, feels like he's an absolute monster in a side lane that always needs to be answered. It's Doran in team fights that makes this Jax look absolutely ridiculous. Him getting multi-man counter-strikes and setting up for the rest of his team is sort of how he makes this champion feel so good.
And the respect has been there from BLG towards Doran's Jax this whole series. Like, can you believe that BLG actually banned Jax
me away.
2 games in a row when Bin is on the team? Like, I've never seen that before.
No, I don't understand it. Viper is going to be pushed away from the lane once again, as you can see, as far as CS is concerned, down about 10 as Delight in somewhat of a precarious position. Peanut going to be moving up as well. Delight looking for a bit of a crash down angle. Grand entrance going to be getting a knockup. Good little interruption there. As now On is in a bit of trouble. Viper trying to get these first fires down. Looking for him, dash out, and it looks like Viper will be safe for the moment. The clone coming on through here. It's Peanut taking the majority of the damage. He might be able to get out of there. The extended range of that extendo beam out from Viper is going to deter them to be able to go back away.
It was a little awkward from the beginning because Shun flashed to try and give On some sort of way to battle dance his way to safety, but he ends up going back towards Elk, and then, I mean, Ashe value, right? Approach velocity, you're able to chase down people so well once you get a couple of these autos, and Elk not exactly happy about that terror shot, but definitely taking control in this top side, but needs to get a reset in. 25 seconds until Void Grubs. Like to spend some of that gold and make sure that he can get his health back up.
Okay, so here towards this bottom side, Doran just once again pushing in another wave. Zeka with control of the mid lane, and as far as tempo in comparison to the last game, it feels so much more even. It feels like BLG sort of had HLE on the back foot for the majority of the early game. This time around, HLE have been able to make some moves here as Grand Entrance going to get a knock up, but the charm was good there onto Shun.
Jax is moving up first, though, ahead of Gnar.
Yeah, Doran is going to dive on top of Knight here for the moment. Peanut, only level 5. Level 6 so important for both of these junglers. You can see Shun still level 5 himself as the grubs have been started up. Peanut, of course, does these pretty quickly with the Umbral Blades.
Ashe didn't reset though, so you're in a position where Elk has to try and catch the wave, so Hanwha should just get these. And because Doran has so much control on that bottom side, the roam up nullifies Bin having that teleport advantage. So nice job here by Hanwha to play out the map state.
Oh, wow, that sidestep, absolutely beautiful there for Viper, as 3 grubs will go over to HLE. Feels like for the first time being able to actually take control of the grub pit.
I'm still not sure that Viper's human, based off what I've seen so far at Worlds.
He's a snake, clearly.
He seems to be scripting or something. Like, I'm not sure what it is, but I know he's on stage, so it's impossible. He's just that good with his movement.
I can confirm I've spoken to him, and he did not sound like an android.
Interesting.
So that's how they get you, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is the thing, you know. You never really can tell. Just have to say, I was recently watching Battlestar Galactica, so I can confirm that it is very hard to tell them apart. Shun going to be taking the first dragon here. BLG going to be able to at least get that one. So a trade of neutrals here in this early game. Not going to be that monopoly that we saw in game number 2. A very different game is now the crash down onto On. He's going to be able to grand exit. Not to award, but it doesn't seem to matter as the big collapse here from HLE towards the top side going to be given up on for the minute.
But look at where the wave is. So Elk and On have to aggress here, and that just sets up.
If at first you don't succeed, go for another one here as On is going to look to turn this one around. There's the paranoia diving right in on top. As can they actually get a first blow? Goes over to second. The extendo beam will be able to lock it down for Viper as well, and both carries walking away wealthy from that one.
Great play from Hanwha. The wave was in a horrible spot for Elk. He needed to crash it so it wouldn't be frozen on him, and Hanwha collapse as a result and pick off both of the BLG bot laners.
And that's everybody being on the same page. The kill distribution was also ideal. Zeka gets a kill for his time, and then Viper, the hyper carry, who was in a tough lane situation early against Ashe, is now even in CS and a kill up.
And so much of it comes back to that early play as well from Peanut, playing up around that top side, denying Elk the reset that he needed. He wasn't in a
Poate așa
position
întrebare de nou, de ce puteți așa mult dacă ești blue sau red? Gen, nu văd care avantajul. Fiecare side are diferite bonusuri și în funcție de meta-ul în care te afli, gen câți campioni sunt broken, uneori e mai avantajos să fii blue, alteori e mai avantajos să fii red. De exemplu, dacă ești blue în momentul de față, poți să dai target bans, gen banezi ce nu-ți place, și întotdeauna vei avea opțiunea de a alege ceva broken sau poți bana astfel încât să te asiguri că e cel puțin un pic broken pe first pick. În schimb, red side are avantajul de a putea da counter pick pe ultimul pick. Eu iau ultimul pick și vede tot draftul în toată planșa. Practic, în momentul de față sunt unele pick-uri tip Ione, Skarner, Jax, pe care se pune foarte multă prioritate și lumea preferă să joace blue ca să ia unul din pick-urile astea.
But after this start, things could be getting a little bit hairy. However, do want to just go back to the fact that this is not a massive gold lead by any means. It is one Drake in favor of BLG.
Gen ca red side încerci să banezi din picurile astea și ca blue side vrei să-ți rămână cel puțin. Nu poți să le banezi red-ul pe toate.
I think the nice thing for Hanwha though is that they've already sent Doran to this top side. He's going to be able to keep pressure there. Bin TP to the bottom lane. So for the Void grubs that are in 45 seconds, this could be a potential 6 grub buff for an Ahri and a Jax on a side lane. So there's definitely some avenues of attack here for Hanwha. And I think what we've seen is that BLG, when they start to fall behind in this series, haven't been confident enough to kind of get the lanes assignments correctly the first time around. They take a second or two to get everything back in order. So this is where I want to see BLG just from this point now start to figure out how they want to get onto the map, and a lot of that is going to be Bin rotating up to the top side, being in a position to try and contest these Void grubs and finding some sort of fight off the fact you have a pick with the Ashes.
Exactly, and we are going to take some time just to have a look at the beautiful Adidas Arena and some of our players
Max.
here, as there is a little bit of a pause.
Who paused, Max?
If it is that guy on the screen right there, I can tell him right now he does not have a static shiv. That's why it's not going off. Just to go back to some drama in the LCK. It was an HLE peripheral issue, and it might be that gentleman on your screen right there, as we can see. But hopefully we get that one sorted out as quickly as possible. I love it when we hear peripheral issue, because it's the least difficult to solve. You know, my stuff is broken. Please fix. You know, and that's the long and short of it. We hang out in sepia mode for just a little bit, and then we go back. Yeah. So it was Doran. Maybe it was a sippy cup incident. I hear there are a few of those all across the world.
They've been
shockingly absent at this World Championship, but I gotta say...
Oh, you shouldn't have said it.
This is such... Yeah, they'll never happen again. This has been such a cool venue for quarterfinals. I know we're only on day 2, but a lot of times with these quarterfinals being like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes it doesn't like fill out in the first few games, especially if you're in Europe, maybe because G2 didn't make it, it's not going to be exciting. But the fans here have just been absolutely incredible. They bring so much hype. They cheer whenever there's a good play. It's just one of the best places to ever do an esports event.
I agree. I actually can't remember an event in Paris that wasn't completely bananas as far as like the turnout as well as just the passion from all the fans. So I would 100% agree. And I feel like we're so lucky, right? Like the Adidas Arena has only been here for a couple of different events, and then we get to take advantage of it right now. So absolutely joyous. You're having a look at it right now as Delight getting ready to get back into this one, as I believe we've given Doran an extra keyboard or an extra mouse or an extra headset or something like that, and he is ready to play some League of Legends again, and we are ready to watch him. And so here we go, back onto the Rift once more. Zeka going to continue clearing out that ward, as Shonanon will be able to get rid of this control ward as well. BLG just moving towards some control of these grubs, which is exactly what they've been looking out for the last little while.
Yeah, maybe the tipping point to the series here, especially in Game 3. The early trades going back and forth. I think HLE definitely punched back in a meaningful way, but you know if the Silas gets one big fight, he can kind of just take over the game as well. So, as you were mentioning, Dagda, this next grub fight could be big.
But watch how Helmar are already moving here. So, shifting Ari down to the bot side, Zeri moving to mid to get mid control to come across. Bin has no TP available, and this is what I'm saying. BLG, they're going to opt into a fight that could be a numbers disadvantage for them here.
Yeah, a lot of vision available as well, and of course when you've got Paranoia to play around, that can be a danger. That is going to be grub number 1 locked down here for BLG. You know that HLE want to be able to get at least one of these, as now Doran looking for a bit of a wraparound, and it looks like it's going to be one grub going over to Hanwha, and BLG just going to cut their losses and leave.
Bin was walking up from River, but he'd actually popped Meganar, so BLG in the grand scheme of things wouldn't have been able to go for a proper fight. I think just happy to deny that 6 grub buff to Hanwha there.
And these teams, aside from a little bit of over-aggression in Game 2 by HLE when they were trying to get back in the game, have been incredibly measured about the fights that they actually take right there. So that was teams not wanting to overcommit into what would have been a losing fight. And now they're just going to start setting up this Drake, I'd imagine.
It's also great to see being the one that's going up against the Ari, because when you look at the itemization coming through from Doran, he's definitely going more towards the, hey, I want to go up against the on-hit and R, whereas you're going in towards the melee matchup. Now, same could be said obviously on the opposite side, because you've got the steel cap boots for Bin as well, but I think when you've got a little bit more range there, it's easier for you to deal with an Ari than the Silas who just wants to jump onto Doran every time.
I will say though, BLG has camped this Silas top lane with no teleport, so the Dragon, if HLE wants to set up and kind of hard force it, they'd be in a pretty good position to do so, because they could get a 5v4 and probably just stop BLG from contesting altogether.
Not to mention the fact that Doran's pretty okay in that matchup as well, up against the Silas. Has been, when, you know, once upon a time, Silas was a top laner. Jax didn't do too badly into the matchup. Of course, patches do dictate a little bit of who's going to win out from those ones, but that's sort of my memory trying to kick in there just a little bit. Peanut grabbing the Hex Plate as well, and we'll see how that one's going to go. There's a few different schools of thought when it comes to the first item for the Nocturne. Gentlemen, what are your favorites?
I like Stridebreaker.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people like Stridebreaker.
But Peanut is in World's quarterfinal, so like I'm not sure who I'm going to take sides on here.
It was Canyon that was the one that just said Hexplate is the best, and you should always build that
first. He's a world champion. So.
He is a world champion.
The people we've checked with so far are really good at the game.
Yeah. I've heard that Canyon's pretty good. But we've seen Stridebreaker be very, very valuable as well. So interested to see what Peanut's going to make of this particular item, as already he's utilizing it to destroy a dragon.
A little interesting that Knight actually pushed, recalled Lloyd.
Este interesant pentru că de obicei pe cum vezi Sander îți ca în Cleaver, cam în fiecare match. Build-ul ăsta cu Triforce, Sander e build-ul la Urin. Înainte pe cum făceai Sander îți ca ai, nu Sander, practic e foarte bun la procui chestii cu Shimbox, cu Q. Asta niciodată până acum să vedeți. Să când sunt 5 miliarde de oameni, bro, și n-auzi ce se vorbește și practic E foarte improbabil, nu e reality show de ăsta în care toată lumea e foarte silent și dacă tușește unul în sală l-auzi și nu e o sală atât de mică, e ca mai stadionul. Plus că dacă strănută sau whatever face un zgomot, poate să-și ia gank oricare dintre cei 5, plus pe lângă asta toți jucătorii au o pereche de asta de căști cum am eu, apoi încă o pereche de căști peste. Deci practic ai dublu anti-phonic nose nimic.
Yeah, Peanut just going to be able to take that one away. And as we get the MasterCard lane economy snapshot, it's going to be a lot of red towards the top side of the map. But you can see both carries on HLE looking very, very strong.
A lot of trepidation from both teams in what could be a swing match in this series.
Să-ți garantez dacă te joci jocul și auzi pe cineva în sală strigând, bă, sau nu știu ce, mai mult e o distragere decât orice altceva. Are Agurin potențial de pro? Agurin a fost pro, bro.
Because Elk has that ultimate available at all points in time, and the ability for On and Shun to destroy Viper is there at a minute's notice. But with how well Peanut and Delight have been, hey, we're going to shove in mid, keep Viper safe, then lean bot side, so Peanut is always in range of his ultimate support, people like Zeka. It's made it really difficult for BLG to really open up on the map. Now BLG looking for the trade on map state, with the Rift Herald being invested onto this bottom side.
Yep, that's going to be a turret going down. First turret blood over to HLE. That's going to give them a decent advantage, although it's answered immediately. So it is just that extra first turret gold that is able to be picked up as Arrow going to connect, and the immediate collapse comes down to
Ești verificat și purificat.
Cyclone comes on through as now Peanut's going to join. The paranoia is going to be there. The fear, it goes off as On looks for that backline, but Zeka, it's a great sidestep and the ulti comes through from the full health series.
Ok, să ia first pick Silas de acum înainte. O să ne jucăm first pick Silas. Bine, vrea să meargă în Samus Burst. Cred că Bine e motivat să câștige chat.
Rift Herald play by HLE. Bin cleans up 2 kills. They actually managed to kill Viper at the end of that fight, and that is a massive turn.
It's a brilliant collapse from BLG, and one they were setting up for a night, hiding in that bush with the Ari ultimate, and it's the immediate dive after Elk connects with this. You can see the second setup for the Rift Herald is coming through, and it's perfect timing. They immediately jump on towards the light. And as Shun goes in here, everything is used on towards the Wukong who flashes away, which buys time for Knight to get those cooldowns back up. On uses the ultimate through everyone to buy space once more. And watch this dodge from Knight, just barely getting past the charm with that Ari ultimate means that then everyone has to overextend for him, buying time for everyone to jump on towards Viper. And On with this knock-up seals the deal for even more in BLG's favor.
Yeah, once those teleports started coming in, you knew it was on. They've been waiting so long for this fight in this game.
Yeah,
BLG
finally,
close to that red side win.
Yeah, some happiness coming out after turning things around here. 2,000 gold, 1,300 gold. I tell a lie, is going to be the advantage here as HLE looking to try and crash this one through as well. They should be able to take this down. 4Grub's going to be helping out there, of course. And Doran in the side lane is going to be very, very scary unless he gets hit by an arrow from downtown. The chain's going to connect as well. Delight just has to watch, but does provide a leap strike target. And Doran, they do get the turret, and he just makes his way out. Knight doesn't quite find the chains.
Actually really important that Doran was able to escape this, even though it's likely going to make him reset. How good is Elk? Back-to-back cross-map arrows.
Yeah.
But they're trying to make this into a big tempo play. How long they delayed these recalls.
Yeah, they're trying to delay it because Dragon is in 20 seconds. So if they can deny the back once again, Delight doing a great job of blocking the potential quill there from On. Now they get to move over on towards this bottom side of the map and actually match. Doran doesn't have TP, but the ultimate coming through wasn't really burnt by On there, so BLG still have a chance as Bin sitting just shy of this Mega Gnar form.
La nivelul ăsta e destul de ușor să-i dai target din moment ce are un champion pool destul de redus, adică îți garantez că Agurin pe Jarvan sau unele picuri e incomparabil cu Agurin pe Viego sau mai știu ce. și are propriul lui stil de joc. Probabil a putea să o face lejer în IRLs, poate chiar și leg, adică a jucat în IRLs, dar la Worlds mai e greu.
Keep your eyes on this now to see what he can get done there as Knight is going to hijack the Spirit Rush. Both teams ready for a battle here. Extendo Beam not going to quite find it there as the arrow will connect onto the Jax. They all dive forward. Can he get the counter-strike? And he does manage to do it, but he's still going to go down. There goes the Rel at the same time, and the charm will connect, but the charm does not matter. It's Knight that's able to pick up a double, and HLE, they are more than on the ropes now. They're going to lose their outer turret, and that could have been a game-ending play.
Internationally, Knight is known for his Ari, but domestically, he is a monster on the Silas. And when he gets access to the best of both worlds, he is showing up on this international stage, shutting down Hanwha and securing the dragon for BLG.
It's looking like Silas is a better Ari than Ari.
Yeah, and it was HLE that told us that.
Incredible. And this time, this fight, I really think HLE needed to give it up, but they want to keep the train moving. They're going for Knight.
Yep, Charm is going to connect there as the chain lash not quite going
to
work out. Peanut is going to make him a little bit
meciul
afraid
4 o
as
să
the
vedem
obsession comes down.
Ahri pentru Knight din nou. Și o să piardă și el să fie 2-2. Și apoi meciul 5 o să ia Ahri din nou, tot Knight și o să câștige și o să fie 3-2 BLG. Să fie 5 meciuri de Ahri. Toată lumea pierde cu Ahri până meciul 5.
It's one of those things where HLE is just not in a good position, so you're kind of just waiting to see who BLG picks to kill.
Decisive avea impact de repede când se semnează echipă, depinde de foarte mulți, prea mulți factori.
The setup was perfect by BLG.
Peanut also just wasn't involved in the fight. Yes, he popped the darkness, but he would have liked to jump on towards the Ash, but with the way BLG were set up, he wouldn't dive into his.
Dar evident, dacă avea
exactly, and it was a great trigger pull from
motivația necesară să joace într-o echipă și ar avea noroc și de coechipieri decenți, ar putea să fie ok. Că nu e bad player, by any chance. Ne să mai în concurs, mâine joacă.
For sure, and I think even that last fight, the fact that HLE even did that makes me think that they're feeling a lot of pressure, that the game is actually falling out of their control.
Pare foarte broken picul ăsta de knock chat. Voi ce părere aveți? Îmi place maxim picul de knock chat.
So they really need to just reset their mental here, realize they're behind and try and take some smart fights.
And that's why they're trying so hard to punish Knight on the side lane, because they need to try and deny this 1-3-1 setup. Maybe looking it on here.
Here we go.
Yeah, there's the paranoia to dive
in.
They should be able to take down that. There goes the Magnustorm. He's going to come through as well. As there's the Cyclone. Shun trying to turn this one around is on. He's not going to be able to help out. Still Viper is dead. And the teleport from Gigabin into that backline. Second nowhere to go. And he's just clobbered on the head. That is going to be HLE having to back out of that one. It looked like it was such a good start to the fight.
You all forgot about Bin, the TP in with the Meganar, and that's what I was about to point out. He was nearly 3,000 gold ahead of Doran on a side lane. It's only exploded even further now. This Nar is taking over this game, and there's zero Hanwha have a response for.
The gold lead is Bin. Bin is the difference. It was a good look, as you mentioned, onto the Ash, but once you're flying in there with the Rel and the Nocturne, the protection that could exist for Viper is gone. So he kills Elk, but then Wukong gets onto Viper so well with the Recon, and then they end up trading 80 carries, and it buys time for Bin to arrive.
And it is a great ward that Halmar are trying to play off. Spot Elk when he's trying to play safe on the mid wave, but BLG are just in a position to follow up. They'd already pushed in that bottom wave. It was the play, the Hail Mary play for them to try and come back into it, and that, I believe, is the BLG cheer rally, the fan head. So it's nice to see that he's made it to Paris again.
Absolutely. Looking like he's doing his job well at the same time, and especially while BLG are performing this well. Now moving ahead to about a 3,000 gold advantage. These incremental leads that they're piecing together. 1.5 minutes until this next
Eram sarcastic, Alexandru, evident, nu ce garbage pick, spun asta de când am început turneul. Nu ce situațional poate să fie bun dacă ai flanker și ai nevoie de AD jungler neapărat, dar
in single games in the LPL all the time. They dropped so
de cele mai multe ori e super
many
useless.
of best of threes
Și acolo
and
e
best of fives,
useless.
but they
Chiar
were
și dacă o
so
scoți
good
pe
at
Ash,
recovering and
e
taking
same
control of
shit.
the rest of the series. They're trying to do exactly the same thing against HLE, and they have wrapped around.
Oh, Doran. Oh, the switch in possessions. That was gorgeous. I'd say probably a little bit lucky as well, but you have to give it to him.
Straight between the uprights, but in the best way.
Le-a dat pase cu printre picioare,
Celebrate
chat.
by spinning around after they trade places. Man,
A lui a
Cirque du Soleil, I
vrut cu
love it.
BLG-ul,
Do that
nu?
again if they tried?
I don't think so.
I mean, n-a făcut try-force în Sanders, că a făcut try-force în Sterax.
It's great to see them coming back into form because yes, they did drop singular games, but I think it was a definite issue with their meta read, how they were approaching fights coming in from Swiss. But this is more like it, and it's Knight coming onto his champions, like the Ari looking great, the LeBlanc looking great. The Silas has domestically been an incredibly strong pick for this guy. He had like a 2v5 base hold against some teams back in like 2022 spring on this champion, but we haven't really got to see him bring it out on the international stage. But now you're seeing why it's so feared domestically.
And they're going to be trying to set up with this Drake here. Currently, Bin, I'm trying to find him on the map, has no rage at the moment, so they don't have exactly the same setup, but as long as HLE doesn't start the Drake, they can start to get control.
I mean, he's 3-item mini now. He still is very dangerous, as it turns out, with this Wits End that he's just completed. And yeah, Doran gonna make his way in. Humble Life Esports not wanting to give away Soul Point here, especially when it's that Mountain Soul. Will make Bin almost impossible to kill. A Shun taking half of his health bar from Zeka here, who's already used his ultimate. Now that Nabar is looking brilliant. Oh, the Spirit Rush still comes down, but he's hit by the Arrow Knight. Gonna lock that one down. Delight cannot do anything about it. And they lose two. They'll lose the Drake at the same time. HLE are flailing.
Even more control by BLG. Another Ash Arrow by Elk. They are far ahead here in the game 3. And Atlas, this is also the second game in a row they've kind of put Doran in the dirt, which has got to be concerning for HLE. Last year on Gen G, Doran could not match Bin in that best of 5, and I'd say these last 2 games have been a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, I think that there's just something there. I don't think Doran can really figure it out against this guy. Bin just has extra confidence against this player, as now they've started off the Baron down 50%, and now Viper is starting this off.
Cred că e bad for băi, let's go to that turn.
Counter-strike might be able to get something done, but no, he's just pushed away.
Just drop.
And BLG, this phalanx that they can put together is brilliant.
TP coming in though from Zeka, so they're able to push BLG off top, move over towards this mid lane turret. So not only do they deny the Baron, you're getting a little bit back here for Hanwha.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of an opportunity here, as some local gold from this turret as well is going to be helping out, opening up the map as well for them, and some bounties going to be layered on. So down to about a 3,000 gold advantage. We're going to have a look at this one more time around this dragon.
And this is where it's just very difficult because you... hang on, never mind.
Never mind. There's another battle coming on through here as the arrow is going to connect as Peanut spell shields.
Mai cu 4 ani la market la 9.000 colegii și a câștigat un singur în set acum. I mean, sunt de acord, de fiecare dată când există un jucător nou care joacă foarte bine, e marketat la un nivel impresionant. Orice fotbalist bun în România e noul Hagi de 15 ani deja. Dar asta nu înseamnă neapărat că e bad, doar pentru că doar un MSI Pro, pentru că până la urmă sunt foarte multe chestii care decid dacă ai succes sau nu la nivel competitiv în internaționale. Knight e for sure top 3 milioneri în lume. Top 5 cel puțin, ok, dacă nu vrei să dai top 3, dăm top 5. Ce-o fiind primul, evident.
We'll just have to see, because we haven't certified a Zeri moment just yet. He's 1, 3, and 4 right now, not necessarily running away with the game. But you're right, Viper has certainly performed some miracles himself.
Arată vreo săgeată?
Where he made that run 5 games all the way towards the grand final, being able to take down an incredibly D+Kia.
I think the hard part for Hanwha though is trying to get control for Viper in a fight. Bane has control side, Knight does as well, so you're going to be late to objective setups by default. And then you are going to have Binu as his flash up, Shun flash up, Knight flash up, On flash up. There are so many people that are diving on towards Viper, so he has to play this clutch. Now, he does have his summoner spells available, but this needs to be superb from Viper.
Well, there's a point-blank charm going to connect onto Shun. He's going to take that as an invitation for more Biffo, but they're not going to actually commit to anything.
And it's also Zeka, or it's also Zeri without an enchant.
Are schimbări bounty system? Nu am văzut schimbările. Nu joacă, ba da.
Still a very powerful position for BLG to be in the game. Not to mention the 2 Mountain Drakes already.
Vineri, ăsta nu vineri, duminică, pardon.
Just giving them so much additional durability. when you already have an Ahri team already being a little bit low in damage, and then because the Jax is a full item behind, there's just not very many people to actually
Și atunci cine
get
joacă cu
BLG
fly-ul
low, so
Dominic
the
dacă nu gen
Sorry, I'm just laughing at Odd. Like he just likes to bluff. It's like, I swear Knight is still behind me as Knight starts to show him mid-wave. He's like, never mind, I'm gonna get out of here.
He's on the perfect like walking ward champion as well though.
Zeri are 3 iteme jumate în doar 2. Zeri aproape de Zeri
I
moment.
mean, it's one of the champions he made his name on, right? It was Rakan and Renata that he was really renowned for. Why he became known as the like handsome support for his handsome plays in the LPL. And it was a lot of it was on things like the Rakan, which is very fitting for that type of nickname.
Yeah, I'd say fitting for this matchup as well, as that was where Delight made his name as well, even when he was a bro back in the day.
Cred că randenile sunt ok. Are nevoie de armură versus Zeri ăsta sau o să-l tace. Iar în competiție, mâine joacă Tion.
Not so far this game though. This Rel
E
has
ieșit din
not
oficiu
been
profil
able to
pe
find
fly? Clar.
quite the things that he's wanted to get going. Zeka finding a little bit here, does have 3 items now
Da,
completed.
chat, o să avem flag ăsta în finală. O să joace nu jungla.
Absolutely, and it's going to be sole point here.
La
HLE
scaling.
had 5 people grouped on mid lane very briefly to be able to get mid prio, but they haven't been able to hold priority on any of the side lanes. This is actually a nice timing right now because the wave that Knight pushed in top doesn't matter that much aside from the lost gold, and at least HLE can clear the vision because if they get the right pocket of vision with which they can Nocturne ult and one-shot Elk with, that could be a way for them to prevent this soul going over.
And again, this is what I was talking about. Knight supporting Elk on mid push. They're never leaving Elk alone, giving that opportunity. Now BLG are in position to just sit around Elk and just play this pocket of protection.
Yeah, they are just walking in with so much confidence.
Nice.
This is the way that BLG were moving in their domestic playoffs, right? It was just, we want this. We're just going to all move in. We are ready for a fight, and they are once again set up immediately.
Zeka lost ult there for basically nothing. Knight stole his ult, so they're panicking.
Trebuie să iasă, că să-ți dau așa lui...
But that hop was gorgeous from Bin, and everyone
Bro,
else
Zeka
piles on to
flash
make sure that he's okay. He does lose a lot of his health bar, but he's still alive. Teleport at the ready as Doran diving on forward, doesn't find an engage angle.
Gnar n-ai timp de base, bro, trebuie să te bați. Gnar n-ai timp de base, Gnar. Sunt! La Zeri. Ok, Knight clean up. Bro, uite ce movement are Knight-ul de man. Bro, uite ce movement are ăsta cu Sylas, că e hacker. Bro, are zonia? Are zonia. Bro, uite ce movement are ăsta cu Sylas, că e real. Dacă sunt cu Kong și ratez Might-ul și mid-ul meu joacă așa, sincer mă simt ca ultimul căcat, adică... Practic dacă mid-ul meu joacă așa și eu ratez Might versus Zeri, nu o să fiu satisfăcut nici dacă mă calific.
And then, because BLG tried, because HLE tried so desperately to get on Bin, that was really their last chance. They were never going to win a straight-up 5v fight without the Ahri ult against the level 16 Sylas, and we saw the conclusion of the fight when they did actually fight.
And when we get into this replay, I want you to watch on the ult, flash, and the grand entrance to give the hop to Bin to get him over this wall. Watch here as he comes in. So everyone jumps in, goes over the wall, gets the hop for Bin, and then gets the grand entrance back out.
I mean, n-a fost intended asta cu hopul, vă garantez că ăla cu Rakan a intrat doar ca disrupt, n-a avut el planul să lași pe ăla să sară în cap, să sară peste peretele, come on. Ar fi dat jump plus flash peste perete, ar fi murit, dar...
So it's a fight on 2 fronts now,
which
is perfect for champions like Sylas and for Wukong. But the fight.
Yeah, Arrow going to connect here from Peanut, who spell shields it very, very nicely. Still HLE. I mean, yes, they survive, but they're pushed away from their own jungle.
Da, bro, dar nu e vina lui Peanut, gen, nu are ce să facă Peanut meciul ăsta, îți joacă Nocturne. Ce poți să faci ca Nocturne meciul ăsta? Ai un singur target și ăla e Ashe. Și ai atât de puține fight-uri, acum Ashe își face zonie și nu mai face nimic pe Ashe. Pur și simplu useless pick. Nu e vina lui. Meciul 1 s-a jucat Poppy și a scort. A jucat super bine.
Absolute god tier engage, or the BLG overcommit somewhere.
And you've got to do something very quickly because Ben is now in this mid lane. BLG starting to support him. He's about to turn Mendingar, which gives him an opportunity to actually take pop shots at this turret. Elk sitting topside again. The ultimate is available. Can Peanut block it a second time?
Yep, 2-level advantage as well as far as those top laners, so nothing that Doran can really do. But that's been the story of the majority of this game. Knight steals away the paranoia as well. That might be able to get them a little bit more of an advantage. Looking towards Doran perhaps, does manage to get a bit of damage down onto Shun, but he's not too worried about it. As this Wukong, Orbit Deception doing some damage onto Elk, as you can see there, but
Hei, Delight. Dar e aproape de mega cu Gnar, nu mai cum să forțez.
Going to be allowed to set up some sort of trap as another minion wave conga lines in, and BLG, this is as by the book as it gets, but it looks like no way in for HLE at all.
And this is what they look like domestically. Super strong solo laners. The pick from Elk.
Yeah, Arrow is going to be at least buffered there by Zeka. Paranoia does come down. Knight utilizing that one to hijack immediately.
Ia, să da, base joacă sau pentru...
Level 18 Silas just barely has a cooldown.
N-ai cum să intri în bază, deci nu vrei să faci dive-uri cu compul ăsta. Ok.
The interruption on even the empowered recall. That is going to be Elk going down, and maybe HLE.
Dar e la timp pentru Drake să...
As, yeah, that was the ward that was put down by Delight earlier on. And BLG, they lose their AD carry 1 minute before this dragon. Not a whole lot to fight around, though.
Hai, nu poți să faci nimic, pur și simplu, cu hard-push top.
Yes, they can get
hard-push
this wave
mid.
pushed out, but it doesn't really net them an objective on the map.
Base și joci de dragon.
Elk, sorry, should be back up and available as it comes through.
Ești în care are în
He's
gardă.
moving in towards this bot side, just setting up this vision already for Dragon. Hanwha kind of need to brute force their way down mid lane, push back BLG, see if they continue the pressure on the map in that darkness to find more picks and push BLG back further, but you can see Bin, super strong, pushes in bot side already.
Yep. Such a tight flash timer on Elk as well. That's why he has the Seeker's Arm Guard in his inventory right now. BLG, I think, just need this soul fight to close the game. They are stronger at the moment. Silas, level 18, with the ultimates that he can choose from, is just devastating. The only thing they have to worry about a little bit, I'd say, is Elk getting picked off in one shot, because then the damage might be low enough. But the time it takes for HLE to actually kill the Gnar and the Wukong seems to be just too high.
These item spikes are absurd as well. You got a death cap coming in from Knight. You've also got a Seeker's Arm Guard just casually there for Elk as well. So if they do dive on top of him again, he can go golden. Has a bit of an answer here as now Peanut going to get stunned up here from Knight. This is a little bit too far forward. Does get the shield is on. Looks to try and buy some space. Peanut may have baited it though as the ulti comes through from Viper. They take down the Nocturne. And now it's Zeka that's the target. Delight just trying to play Peel. Viper still alive for the moment. The arrow going to be tanked by Delight. And Viper will just get smacked down in the team by Knight. We'll be able to get another Spirit Rush as Doran doing his best to try and play 1 versus 3, but it's not going to be enough.
Doran, exploratorul.
He's going to buy a little bit of space, but then the chain's going to catch him. And 3 left for BLG. That's going to be an
Au super mult DPS, au 2 trajectorsuri și Silas.
Desperately tried to keep the game alive there, but he couldn't get
Ia
it.
vine doar Nocturne, cred că pasă de mult.
And BLG are marching down on bot side, taking the red
Să dea
side game
Demolish-ul, cred că l-are
for
pentru turn.
10 seconds on Peanut, he might be able to clear the wave.
Da,
I think this is going to be it though for BLG.
This is a dangerous one. Knight has so much damage. Now that death cap's come in, the AP going to be obliterating these Nexus turrets. The Nexus will be exposed. He makes them nearsighted, but the Nexus is right next to them, and they'll be able to take it down. Match point.
Silas broken, Artic, garbage pick.
BLG might be
Nu aș putea
nearsighted, but their sights are only on semifinals in
Dacă
this
cu
series.
vai și dacă e Silas sau...
They see themselves one game away from history repeating from 2023.
Shun wants to beat Peanut again. Bin wants to beat Doran again, and they are 1 game away from accomplishing that feat.
I'm feeling some pretty crazy deja vu, man. I was home last time, and this time I'm in Paris, so I know it's a different thing, but the story is feeling dangerously similar. We'll see whether Harmalife can turn that one around. We are going to go to a short break. When we get back, game number 4, and then hopefully some silver scrapes. Fingers crossed. Everyone, please.
Zic că Ahri e bună. Ahri e bună, dar e bună atunci când Silas e out și ai vai și adversarul are carry imobil pe care poți să îl harasezi. Că aici trebuie cu draftul din meciul 4, bro.
gives you wings.
life? Not you, Maurits. I'm asking Emily.
I'm already having a tough time as is. We don't need to single me out, Avia.
I gotta say, yeah,
he had a great
nice.
game.
Yeah,
he had a great
What about
game.
his smile, though?
And they won on red side.
What about
right?
his smile, though?
His smile was great too.
Okay, nice.
Very cute.
All right, I just wanted to get that out there. Also, kind of the release, I guess, and also the fact that probably that you have the confidence that also on the red side you can pull this off. Or do we think there was a little bit of draft hinting on the other side?
Yeah, so do we want to get into it right from the get-go?
We can do it later also, but you can do it now.
Because I do think that just reducing it down to draft is going to not do justice to what BLG have been able to do.
Yeah.
So
we'll come back to it.
Yeah, BLG's team fighting specifically is something that even in the game that they won in game number 2 looked a little bit shaky, right? Because Humble Life was actually able to kind of pull back. And in this game 3, we saw none of that.
Well, it started, though, it looked great for HLE, right? Like we were talking about topside and how it got attacked over and over and over again. And First Blood actually came for HLE, setting up the Ahri. And in our, right here, we see this coming out. And this is exactly what they want to do with both Zeka and Peanut. This is Peanut's first ult, I believe, and it sets them up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was a great start from HLE, but one of the big differences, because this felt very reminiscent, I think, to game number 1, one of the big differences between game number 1 and game number 3 was the fact that BLG drafted a lot more ways to start fights. They were way more proactive. In game 1, I felt like they sat back and waited for HLE to make a mistake that they were hoping they could capitalize on. HLE never gave it to them. This game, I felt like BLG just took the game by the throat. They took control of it. They were playing aggressive. They were playing with confidence, and that's what you want to see from your number 1 seed.
Yeah, I also like that as you refer back to that first game, that even here, right, even though the First Blood goes over, and in the beginning we were saying, ooh, it looks like BLG might end up being late to the objectives a lot again. That is what happened in game 1, but they course-corrected in that game immediately, and I was pretty impressed by that.
Really was, and particularly the synergy between On, who I think had a rough Swiss, but has really stepped it up thus far, and Shun was so big. That Rakan and Wukong combination was lethal.
Yeah, we also have a bit of a roll of the Ash Arrows because they were beautiful, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, Alec able to initiate time after time after time. Azael, I know you were definitely calling this out. There's one later in the bot lane that was sick, but so are these.
Yeah, I think this was actually from the previous game, unfortunately, but it was obviously pretty incredible how many Ash Arrows he was able to hit.
It was just a tease,
He was smurfing, I feel like, on this. Had some really long-range ones. The one that they saw in the roll into the play on the rel down on bot lane, got them a pick there. He had some really good ones as well, catching Zeka out and putting him in difficult situations. And it just felt like he was such a key component to this game. And it's not an easy game to play as Ashe because there's so much dive on the other side. This is the arrow that we were talking about, catching out Rel on the other side. Delight is trying to posture forward to get the charge on the tier 2. They hit the Ashe arrow. It's an immediate pounce from BLG. They jump forward, they get the first kill, and then the teleport comes through. Everyone from BLG arrives to run over the fight.
And you mentioned how difficult it is to play Ashe. He really has to be on point and have the synergy, like you pointed out, Chronicler, with Shun and On in particular. But he was getting so many key hits on target, so it became so much more difficult for HLE to start fights on their terms.
Not to mention for the Zeri, it was not a good time. And I think that is where, after this graphic, we can kind of parlay this into a bigger draft discussion, because this does mean that HLE, despite being on the blue side, is up against match point. And those memories from last year, they are creeping back in, right? So what is the strat here?
Well, if we can pull up the drafts, because I think particularly in this final game,
is this it?
As I was saying, I think if we look at specifically the ability of BLG to completely neutralize Viper, because I don't think Zeka has been having the performance of really that we expected of him coming in. Because you get the Ashe, he gets a huge power pick here, and simultaneously Viper ends up going towards the Zeri, which just doesn't feel that strong. He didn't get to play the game, and I think they need to make sure that who I think is their best performing player gets a good pick early on.
Well, it's also one of my concerns coming into this series is that it's like Zeka got a lot of Yone earlier in Worlds. He wasn't going to get it clearly coming into the series, so he needs to be able to find those other picks that he can perform at the top level on.
Yeah, and my other thing is this champion here now has a 0. I'm circling the Ahri. Sorry,
I see. We see it.
I should be tighter on my circles here. But 100% loss rate.
Yeah.
Right? So they've tried to find answers. They brought out the Knock Ori combo, prioritized the Jax as their first pick, which is actually what allowed, to Chronicler's point, the Sylas and the Ashe to come through on the red side. I think Ahri is very strong. I also think these two players in particular are very comfortable with the champion, but it has not been working for what the answers we've seen from the other compositions.
And I want everyone to cast your mind back. 2021, Viper was down 2-1 to Dumb1 Gaming. Came back to win the series. 2022, Zeka against T1. Down 2-1 to win the series. And just a couple of months ago in summer, Homa Life was down 2-1 against Genji, and they are your number 1 seed. And I hope that they don't get knocked out, and that they just do it again.
Peanut and Doran were down 0-2 last year versus BLG.
Yeah,
what happened?
They got back to 2-2. That part was great. So we're gonna go to game 5, surely.
So what do you want to see from them then?
Yeah.
What's the adjustment here from Zeka? What's the draft?
For Zeka, honestly, I think they will be on blue side again. Getting in that Silas again, if there's an opportunity, is 100% my main prio. I think we drop the Nocturne, give Peanut something that he can have more impact on. He also hasn't really gone back to his Maokai yet. If the Silas is a prio pick, I understand. But if you get it yourself, 100%, the amount of control that he has, and with how dive-heavy this series has been, him going back to something like that comfort could be huge.
Yeah, regardless of our joking around here, this is a very serious matter, specifically for Peanut, for Doran, for all of HLE, the first seed coming out of the LCK, and BLG, who find themselves again on a match point. Is this the end?
It might be.
Yeah,
yeah,
it certainly could. I didn't know that was the throw, so I got a little bit confused. But that's absolutely fine because, the 2-1, that's given me hope. And I'm so thankful to you, Chronicler. Thank you for that, because we've made this point so many times that actually being up 2-1 in a series is a trap. It's bait because you often just lose. That has been the case in the LCK. This is a very different story. But here, in our Champ Select, powered by Omen and HyperX, this is where the things really need to change. Because, man, just what was your line, Jad, from just like 2 minutes earlier?
Just pick the Silas. Just pick it, man. It's so strong. It was available. They can just ban the same things they did last game. We have the same sides. There's no onus for BLG to shift. They have switched out their third ban by Ash, but I think they're just going to pick the Silas.
Yeah, I think the thing is, though, it's like you're more than likely going to see the Ezreal ban coming through here again, because I think BLG have correctly identified as the series went on. Hey, look, Viper being on something not so hot. Getting the opportunity to take the Xayah Rakan away as well makes Viper way less able to play into a lot of these matchups and have that safe peel. So early Rakan pick on this red side, more than likely going to be the Sejuani. I thought this would be a ban coming into today, but as this meta has shifted through the series, I'm surprised to see that come through.
And it's only Shun that's played it so far. There's the side. Thank you, Jad. Obviously, they were listening, and, well, they weren't, because they came up with this in game number 1.
Yep.
You can tell I'm a little bit bothered by how things have gone thus far. However, back on track here, could have an honest game of League of Legends, is now maybe something about this Sejuani ban is going to be given away here with these first couple of picks.
But the question is, do you still prioritize? Okay, there's the Jax, coming through, even though Sejuani's now taken away. Could immediately, go towards the Rakan. This is what I was saying. I think they've really identified that this is such a...
Isn't
there a Yordle with a hammer that's pretty good, though? Wait a second. We kind of forgot about that, right? For the last couple of games. Of course, game number 2, it was banned. And we're just going to have a look at what the next one is going to be. Of course, Rumble into Jax, you can't...
Teraz first pick dai Jax lub Bean.
Nara's been so incredibly strong.
Brother, de ce bana Ash? Like, okay, e strong, dar n-a fost cheia.
Gave him the first win in the series in game 1. They had the blue side because they had choice from losing the last game. We'll see if BLG has something better to counter it. They're probably just pairing the Xayah with the Rakan, but like at the time...
Bine, ceva de genul, doar dăm popii. Dăm popii, nu mai dă useless factor, please. Ar putea să facă Peanut one v9 cu popii, by the way.
More ability to go in.
And Kaiser has been banned in the second round. Every single time she's left up is what it feels like, unless it's sort of picked up by Viper, where he did manage to have some heroics, although it wasn't quite enough. So going to be locking that one away, and then they're able to get rid of the Ezreal.
Marchi să fie Kai'Sa flex în seara asta, cred că e bad, nu? Adică trebuie să câștige în early, dar... Ne Kai'Sa... Ar putea în teorie să fie Kai'Sa mid, by the way, și să ia AD last.
You don't want to go, I was like, oh, maybe you go LeBlanc, but Poppy exists. Maybe even shift back over towards something like an AD carry, honestly. For in this lane, we've already got some AP damage from both the Jax and this Kai'Sa. Maybe even Shun going towards something that's a bit more AP focused in the jungle, but I think you need something that's a little bit different than Ahri.
Something like Orianna could also work. Knight's been a great Orianna in the past. It's
a little bit low mobility for how rapid this game is.
And you can use the Nocturne Orianna combo, but with the Kai'Sa instead, right?
Și vibe. Bro, nonsensical banul de vai. Ai Poppy 1 și ai și Silas, e furul ăsta.
Peanut could even end up taking away the Nocturne here. So if they show the Nocturne, more than likely that combo that we're going to see come through. But you have to take the Nocturne portion first, or else Peanut just takes the other side.
Înțeleg picul de Kaisa și bani de sărat. Practic, baneze real pentru a le da lor din ai la confort. Și chiar dacă Kaisa dă outscale Ezreal și în teorie counter, Ezreal va continua un pic foarte skirmish și poate să ia prioritatea pe bot. Pentru că Shaz întotdeauna are mereu prea.
Yeah, and a Poppy to just kind of knock everyone out of those circles. So, big circles into the Venn diagram of swoop them on out of there.
Sun e obișnuit să fie one trick de Kindred și e foarte confortabil pe erou. În teorie nu e bad ca să salveze Scopii, dar Poppy, în opinia mea, nu prea îi pasă de Kindred, sincer. Galio e luat doar pentru a putea să facă contest la toate marcurile. Galio ar trebui să fie mai puternic în skirmishes-urile, are foarte mult CC și merge foarte bine Kindred. Adică nu vrei să joci Kindred cu mage care nu se poate mișca, vrei să joci cu ceva care vrea să bată ultime să ajute, să mergi peste tot, să-ți dea backup. Kindred în seara scopii, e cam cringe. Să mai spune de vreme, sunt hipercat Kindred, e foarte hipercat Kindred.
That you have Poppy to blast people away, that you have Silas to steal ultimates and kind of do the same thing whenever he wants to, and you have the Gnar that's been unstoppable pretty much this entire series.
Adică nu mă gândesc că Galio e counter la Silas, nu e. Doar că au nevoie de un pic care să-l așteptă sau Kindred să ia marc. Și chiar dacă se chidează asta cu Kindred, tot ai o grămadă de shutdown, ai Poppy care poate să prindă literally în orice secundă în perete să dea un atac. Se gândește build-ul să facă, dacă să meargă Kraken în Triforce. Asta seamănă cu Faker, tipul ăsta, așa puțin, nu? Cine ia harta după picuri? Aș spune că Hanul ăla câștigă meciul ăsta să fie 2-2 și vedem Silver Strips.
And the series is whoever can win these mid to late game team fights is in the best position. We've seen it even as early as the first grub fight, really getting these advantages. And as we dive onto the rift for game match point here for BLG, game 4. HLE once again on the blue side. Chat, you might get your wish. It might need to be 2 wins on red.
I want to see 5 games in so many ways. For HLE here, the #1 seed of the LCK. I will say though, for most of the year, considered the #2 team in the LCK. It was a surprise that they were able to defeat Gen G to get that #1 seed, but either one of these teams going home in quarterfinals is a massive disappointment compared to their expectations, and especially for HLE. I know we've hit it many times, but it is probably in the front of Doran and Peanut's mind, and they're attempting to push it to the back of their minds that it could just be another Worlds failure. It could be another loss to BLG.
But it's insane that it's one of these top seeds from LCK and LPL going home today. Because on the opposite side for BLG, like, they bought Knight, the kingmaker in the LPL. 6 of the last finals he was in. 4 of the last finals he has won. And he has been the difference maker for these squads he has entertained. BLG brought him across to take over from JDG, be the top team in the LPL, and they succeeded.
Kindred Raptor star cu Galio Q-Dish. Ok, that's uncommon. Nu prea vezi chestia asta. Vreau să facă Raptor, Krad și Red. Nu cred că vrei să... Actually? Și atât recampurile din topside și apoi poate să caute dive în topside. N-am mai văzut iterația asta de map split cu Mice. Cu Kindred. Dora cu dat BLG. Not be there. Nice one. Actually nice one.
I can imagine they'd feel like winning this is basically everything towards getting another finals berth here for the squad. See what they're able to make happen. Has been underneath the turret. Got another lane swap coming on.
Mai degrabă, mai bine spus, I will not be there.
pretty good at Kindred. Currently on a 69%.
Mamă, cum era să-i fure Grompul.
49 games. It's a
Ah,
lot of
that's
games.
my
It's another one of these kind of weird lane swaps though. Bin's still level 1. They might be able to get this dive in fast before he can. He's saving his counter strike.
Yeah, on making his way in. It's going to be a decent counter strike usage, but they do manage to break away. There's the flash heroic charge as Peanut
It's tough.
gonna have to get himself out of there. As I think that this is going to be too much. Viper taking up the turret, and the turret is getting real angry. Bin just getting experience as this is going. And can they actually make this one happen?
Are. Mamă, dar eu ăsta de bine a fost atât de bad. Bro, counter strike ăsta a fost atât de bad. Ioi, cât de bad a fost. Bro, cât de bad a fost eu ăsta de Jax.
But crucially, they make that work. Bin will fall. The terror plates will go over. The interrupt comes through from on. Just to try and
Nu știu dacă e work, pentru că da, câștigi niște tempo, dar e atât de early încât nu știu dacă o să conteze chiar atât de mult cum contează de obicei. Care TP oricum, right? Îi dai cancel la tempo lui Gnar, care oricum o să dea TP aici. Sau, cred că a fost waste ce a făcut Rakan acolo. Literal n-a pierdut decât un creep pentru flash-ul lui.
Really far behind the last 2 games, is in a little bit of a deficit to start this one.
And this is why I love the adaptation from On. He's been taking heal into these lanes where they are opting into the swaps because he knows, hey, all I need to do is try and keep Bin alive as long as possible. Now, he does end up going down, but that heal was crucial to that first dive, not working out. On then flashing for the interrupt. Doran then has to TP to that bottom side, so he gets the wave, but Viper is massively far behind now as a result of that flash auto interrupt.
And the other thing about the importance of the Kindred in this game, Peanut spent 45 seconds diving a turret. Shun was killing camps. Yeah. So he's absolutely off to the races on this Kindred.
Feeling very, very good about it. And as the dust settles, I mean, the gold, that's going to be there for HLE, but what it means for the rest of the game is what we're going to have to bear in mind. I think we need to do a little bit of a Silas inventory to see what kind of ultimates he has up and available. I seem to remember quickness being pretty good for Silas in the past, certainly a favorite, but the heroic entrance as well could be a huge one for delivering Zeka into these fights and being able to match Knight and the extra mobility around the map that a Galio does have.
And that's why I'd actually opt in towards the heroic entrance over the likes of, say, Kindred ult, right? Because Kindred ult will go down, but having that everyone pile on in, you want a double Galio ult to basically match what Knight is going to try and achieve there with it. So I think that's where having this Silas is going to be crucial for Zeka. But already we're swapping the map on WAP, getting some turret plates back for Viper is very nice, especially when he's already picked up a nice little bit of a lead for himself thanks to that early kill.
Yep, and we do have to say as well that Zeka in a melee matchup, as this Silas as well, like you're favored in a matchup against the Galio, and so he could be really accelerated in this game. We'll see what BLG are going to be able to do about that, as the Grand Entrance is going to connect onto Viper, but the counter-strike not quite so good, as Knight and Shun trying to get something done here onto Zeka in this mid lane. Fair bit of extra damage, but the slow is good. Shun going to have to back away.
Pretty free timing on that gank by Kindred. He had the tempo to be able to pull that off, and he's just getting the Silas a little bit low. They know he's already teleported back, so he's not going to have time to take a recall before the grubs. That might just be the ticket to let them have this objective, just getting free damage on Peanut as well.
Yeah, it's a flash in, as unfortunately you can't dance of arrows, but there's the heroic entrance from Zeka. He's like, I'm here, and Peanut is going to live. More fighting here towards this bottom side of the map, as Doran's going to have to get out of there, but the grubs should belong to BLG after all that.
Yeah, Elk hit level 6 in the bot lane, so basically did what you do to an Ezreal. Land that Void Seeker, immediately ult in, end up nearly killing off Doran, but then a good response from Zeka to cover that play on the top side. It means that Shun as well still hasn't picked up a mark. Mark was on the first Scuttle Crab on the bot side, he's now on another Scuttle Crab on that bot end of the map, so he should be able to run down and pick this one up, but reset's coming through from BLG, and I don't think Peanut wants to let him have it.
Yeah, Peanut has been
a little devil here.
Over,
Yeah, he's played against Pioshik a lot.
Is he going to get himself killed?
He does know about this. Shun is going to move in though. Now On going to try and make his way out. It is going to be Peanut. Should be able to lock this one down, and he does.
That's
so
big
nice,
actually, that's super
there.
big.
Not end of the world or anything like that. Of course, it is very nice to have quite a few of these marks, and accelerating towards 4 marks is, of course, exactly what you want to do. But it's not end of the world.
Yeah, the added range is going to be incredibly nice, especially with all the circles. Being able to auto-attack outside of some of the circles is big. But the sequence we just saw, I think, was actually attached to the sequence we saw right at the start of the game, where HLE had a gold lead, but we were saying BLG had experience advantages and tempo advantages, and they just cashed some of it in there by being able to get level 6 first in the bot lane, and Bin trying to cash in more.
Yeah, in a little bit of trouble. However, he does get to his turret. Elk is now the one that's having some issues here towards his bottom
Picul
side.
să funcționeze, goal-lead-ul trebuie să fie mult mai mare decât este momentul de față Bad și cred că și-a cam stricat tot tempo-ul. Tot tempo-ul lui s-a dus pe apa sâmbetei, încercând să ia marcul ăla. Nu are base, ăsta cu Poppy are base. Încred are doar primul base, ăsta cu Poppy are base de la minutul 6:30 și ăsta cu Fingerl are la minutul 4.
Still though, Viper sitting about 600 gold lead, he should be able to back away and get a nice few items for himself. And I think that's where you're going to be looking as the difference maker for HLE.
Chiedere poate să-și ia probabil Heartbound Axe ăla albastru din Kraken acum? Sau, yeah, plus un pink.
Advantage being on a misfortune as well does mean that you've got a bunch of extra early game power hitting so much harder on these single items, 2 items. Should be able to help them find some battles in this early to mid game they weren't able to find in the last few games.
Îmi place compo-ul ăsta, sincer. Pentru că Galio își face tank și au AP din Kaisa, deci nu e ca și cum nu au AP.
But at least for now, Doran's holding his own into the Jax. He avoided the solo kill early. They did manage to actually kill him at the very end of their early dive, and as long as he doesn't overextend, the Kindred's not an incredibly potent ganker.
Oh dear, going to get Doran out of there.
He found him. Now it just buys the team time, knowing that he's on the other side of the map.
Well, I think it was also to poke his head in for the Scuttle Crab respawn. Again, just contest those marks that are coming through from the Kindred. So getting the vision, getting the push here from Peanut, just to make sure that they can take it right as it spawns. And I think, Shun, you have Knight at least pushing in mid, but they would love for Jax to come across for this.
Yeah, Bin now just gonna try and turn this one onto a mega Nars. Doran just smacks him against the wall, knows that he's not going to be able to fight this. Bin just going to be distracted by the wave for the moment.
Oh, it's a trap. It's a crab trap.
Yeah, Knight is going to come up through. Peanut is able to lock down the crab, and now Zeka looking to try and push them out of there. Shun.
N-are niciun marfă în minutul 10.
Zeker's able to slow him down.
Grav sunt în 40.
I couldn't quite tell, but I'm pretty sure Knight was sitting on the control ward waiting for Shun.
Dar cred că o să încerce să bată pentru 6 grab, dar n-ar trebui. Nu cred că știe fight-ul la grab.
Right away, he probably could have prevented it, and that's really what Shun would have wanted, because he's still denied his first mark 10.5 minutes into the game.
N-am niciun spike, ăsta cu Rakan e 5 și rea de 6. Poate face Rakan 6 din nou, ăsta de pe mult și de share, dacă l așteaptă Galio. Nu așteaptă. Okay, just cross, I guess.
Dragon up available, looks like for BLG, just the way that they've set up, but this also then gives a bit more pressure towards Hanwha on towards the Void Grubs, but BLG just happy to go for a trade on the map state right now.
Yep, looking for
a luat Poppy literally toți scrabii pe mine. Dacă e foarte slow Poppy. Doar pe live patch e buff. Poate vreau să încerce Kindred meciul ăsta și nu e vorba de avantaj de rundă, bro, că nu-ți permis să faci de nici poți să fii și 2-0, că tot nu-ți permis să faci o chestie de genul la Worlds. E vorba de confort, tipul e foarte bun pe Kindred și îi place în Poppy pentru că Poppy e utility, el e carry și practic poate să facă diferența având foarte, foarte mult DPS, right? Adică nu cred că Kindred în Poppy e neapărat senzație. Da, și stă și pe ward. That's really bad, by the way.
I think the biggest problems in games 2 and 3 was Bin pulling ahead of Doran. Hasn't happened as of yet. Viper also a little bit off the races. He's been shut down in the last 2 games. And of course, Zeka's just on Silas, maybe looking to make a play.
Oh, yeah, the quickness looking to try and catch Shun here, as you can see. Level 8, so does have that Lamb's respite available. Doesn't have to use it, just gonna wander away.
It's Scuttle scraps again, though. They want to try and move down into this bot side river, and that's why you saw Shun and Knight playing hyper aggressive, seeing if they can maybe push Peanut out, get some damage onto him. But now with Elk pushing out that wave in bot, he needs to reset. Whereas you don't have that problem here for Hanwha, so I think they should just deny more of those marks away from Shun, and this Kindred hasn't worked out for them thus far.
Yeah, he is, you know how I said it's not that bad at the beginning? It's starting to get bad. It's like bad. This is not good. We're going to go towards the negatives here. Still, it's going to remain on those Rift Scholars, so maybe one of them is able to pick up. Bottom side of the map is where the next one is. Knight on, moving up towards his top side of the map as Doran needs to build up that Naba. Peanut just wants to evict someone, and he is going to be able to do so. On going to be taking a little
Dacă
bit of a
câștigă
journey
Hanwha,
away.
o să vedem ban de pupi, by the way. Ăștia o să ia blue, ban de pupi și o să ia Sala Sfârșit.
Picking up to the bot side, though, they were looking at a potential TP in here behind Hanwha. There's the TP!
Yeah, TP is going to come on through, and remember, Zeka does not have his, Doran doesn't have
N-are
his.
plans.
And I don't think Viper's going to be escaping this one. 3 versus 2. Delight just, yeah, he's getting out of there. Viper knows that he's the tastier target, so they're only going to lose that one.
And the Scuttle Crab is still there! Shun will manage to get
Ia și ăsta un marc în minutul 13.
There it is, the first mark to go down for Shun. Is Kindred finally going to be able to start building things.
De asta nu se joacă lumea Kindred și Pain în competitive, pentru că depinzi de prea multe... Kindred depinde de marcuri, Pain depinde de transformare și nu e în controlul tău.
Thought they had a nice map play when Peanut was able to reject the dive and they could get the first turret of the game, but the ward comes in extremely clutch there, and I think it was a really nice play by BLG to teleport down and get the counter kill.
Yeah, first turret for 1 kill though, still probably okay for HLE as far as money is concerned, but being able to take Viper off the map for a bit certainly did help out for the tempo.
Yeah, and I think this is where they're going to unlock now. Bane again moving up towards this top side. Rift Tower is up and available, and you could potentially fight this with Static Shiv available, but it's still a risky play for BLG. And you can see the Doran's on the bottom side, still no TP, so I think BLG trying to rush this with 5-man advantage.
See what they can get done here as Peanut on the blue buff right now wants to finish that one off before they do start trying to contest. It looks like contesting isn't actually on their mind though, as Zeka looking for that flank angle. The Rift Herald is going to be taken. And as we get the lane economy snapshot, it's Shun, the only one with any sort of gold advantage. That bottom side of the map where so much of that money has been made.
Yeah, that was a bit of a fake contest from HLE, trying to make BLG maybe peel off of it or try to burn a few cooldowns because Doran was getting so much free time on the bot side. And I do think it's a bit of a side quest this game to make sure Jax doesn't get too far ahead of the Nara. So I'm actually totally fine with HLE taking that trade if it means Doran can get free gold.
Shun going to be spotted here as Peanut is going to be sweeping out the area.
And for HLE, they kind of now are in a position where they can take the reins a little bit. They're starting to get these big item completions coming through. The first item starting to be done. This is where you're in a position to, hey, Zeka can start threatening these side lanes. You can start looking for plays on towards mid lane as well if Elka's ever left by his lonesome. So it makes things a little bit easier now for Hanwha to open up with Delight and Peanut on the map, which is where they have been most comfortable working through this supporting jungle.
Standing on a ward there, Azon has been pretty good at being able to keep up vision for his team. As Elk losing out on that trade quite considerably, especially with the Void Seeker missing. Another double up going to connect onto this Kai'Sa. Mid lane control, I think, firmly in the hands of Viper right now, and it looks like the last couple of games have made this guy angry.
Absolutely, and another Drake is up in 25 seconds. Viper able to get some damage mid lane, stack up his Bloodthirster shield, but Bin just free time on this turret up here, and Zeka's matching without teleport, so BLG definitely more well prepared on the map for this Drake.
Yep, Justice Punch going to get Knight into the brush, but Doran not going to be caught napping on that one.
It stops his reset though for Triforce, which is what he was really hoping for. So again, giving more space for BLG to work on this bottom half of the map. Dragon now going to be started by them. Knight is resetting, has the ultimate to get back into place. Actually, going to cancel that reset. So looks like BLG go for Dragon. Hanwha, potential trade for the topside turret here.
Yeah, it looks like Zeka without teleport. They had no intention of actually contesting for that Dragon. So it should be Earth, Wind, and Fire coming on through here as well on the cards for BLG, who have already got those first couple of Dragons.
Peanut thinking of denying that second mark on this top side of the map as well. You can see the Scuttle Crab is there, but here comes the charge.
Yep.
Rift Tower going to take us and open up at least a counter punch for BLG.
Pretty even trade across the board, and I'm just getting nervous at this stage in the game
too.
because of what's at stake for these players. I mean, Peanut's Worlds career has not been nearly as prestigious as his domestic career. Just looking at the LCK, he's been amazing, but he's definitely been labeled as a Worlds choker. I'd say this game, on Poppy, one of his best picks. He's playing great. He's looking comfortable, but the really big high-pressure moments are still yet to come. So just seeing whether or not he can overcome that and make this Game 5 happen against BLG, the team that knocked him, Doran, and Delight out last year.
And it's,
like I said, it's making me nervous.
Yeah, no, it's making me nervous as well, because what's more powerful? the clutch factor of Zeka and Viper, who have been able to win Worlds off the back of just 5-game series over and over again. Both of these players have been able to make that happen. And then Doran and Peanut that haven't been able to pass that test. We'll have to see. This game so far so good. That would get them to a game number 5. Then they'd have to probably win on the red side as well. And I think what we all want is 5 games. That's about it. There's now Peanut going to be diving out. Shun making his way in, going to be able to steal away a red buff. Very nicely done. Was that another mark? No, still sitting on 1. So not a great cadence when it comes to marks. 1 every 20 minutes is probably not what you want.
I mean, it's been very unfortunate. The lane swap happened. He doesn't get the mark on top side. And then the mark spawns on bottom side once more, right as you're trying to get out of base. And then every time they've gone for a play on bottom side, it's actually spawned at the top half of the map on that Scuttle Crab. So he's been very unfortunate with the way this one has gone out. Now you can see it on the Krug there.
Yeah, but and I don't think marks can actually be on red buffs at this point. It's been a while since I've played some Kindred. But it is going to be on that Grump for about 4 seconds until Peanut is going to take it down. So denied once again. Shun does hit level 11 though.
The thing that I've noticed in this series though is that BLG have kind of got off to very quick starts and they look great, but almost team fights have come in clutch and may need it here.
Let's see what can happen as Crashdown just going to get Delight out of there. It looks like they don't want to get anything happening right now as Peanut lurking. More vision going down, as you can see. Both of them getting the information. Shun comes on over. That's going to make sure that BLG have control. And 1 minute away from Baron. Topside vision could certainly be important as Zeka is sweeping things out. Knows that that ward is there. And now looking to try and get under the turret. There's the quickness. It goes down the heroic entrance to come on in, and Zeka with that quickness makes his way to safety, but the turret cannot do that because it can't move.
Yeah, the kill would have been the icing on the cake, but the point of that play for BLG was to actually kill the turret. They had a huge amount of tempo accumulated, they got deep vision in the jungle, and then they just collapsed nicely to even that turret score. And I would say that as Delight gets engaged on.
Yeah, that's a grand entrance to come on through. Too many entrances here as the Magnet Storm is going to be the response. Viper so much damage, and there goes Shun. Where was the respite? Blam, what happened? Okay, well, that is just going to be a kill. And now Peanut is looking to steal away the enemy jungle at the same time. The smite is going to come through, and now this turret, is it under fire? It looks like BLG are going to be able to take down the minion wave. Good pick for HLE.
Hanwha wanted to go for that play, but you could see Bin was completely missing on that bottom side, so they invest the TP from Doran to get into the play, but I think Shun didn't want to use the Lamb's Respite with that Dragon just coming up in a few minutes' time. Wanted to make sure that at a pre-Dragon fight, he would have that ultimate available, but it's a great pick from Hanwha. The fact that they immediately jump onto him, the CC combo was fantastic, and there's just nowhere for him to escape to.
It is going to be hard for him to actually get that ult off in team fights though, because Poppy can stun him.
Yeah,
So many things
ziceam doar că
with, especially once damage gets more lethal.
chiar și cu tot gold-ul ce are Hanwha, tot BLG dictează tempo-ul și face play-uri și are pressure pe map, gen pe hartă. Dar apoi a fost prins ăsta cu Kindred și n-a mai contat.
This game, at least they have that 2,000 gold lead, which is somewhat canceled with the Infernal and the Cloud Drake in terms of who's actually winning the game. So it's going to come down to team fighting, at least on the side of HLE, and making sure they're not overly brute forcing, because BLG has had some incredible setups to objectives this series.
And the thing that's giving me as a LCK representative hope is that 1.1k next to Viper's name, which is looking pretty good moving into this stage of the game as Elk throws down that Void Seeker, and Peanut have to deal with Wolf just for a moment. That's going to be fine. Moving back.
Pushing that bottom side for Bin though means he gets to rotate across. BLG going to try and gain access to the wave here, but this is so
pe Super Spike are Infinity Bloodthirster. E un mai strong de gameplay sau în fața.
This is risky for BLG trying to take this position.
Contează în totalitate cum joacă cu Narfa cu B2. Oh! Nice poke. O să-ți transformă curând cu lunar. Ia, s-a transformat. Acum trebuie doar să aștepte, dar au început Dragonul să le commit. Silas n-are de pe ea. Ok, era ca la... Oh, come on! N-are de? Ok, el. Bro, a murit ăsta. Ce broken de gustătoare erau Kaisa, gen, e atât de broken de 1 miliard de ani din creație, bro. Kaisa e broken din creație. Nu știu cum a pierdut ăsta sniper. Ce agency a avut, bro? Pur și simplu a apăsat un buton R sau și-a dat un shot, pentru că așa e broken erou Kai'Sa.
They're pinging on the Baron. The Kindred's going to be alive. He can run out fast. Knight and Bin are close. They were thinking about it.
Yeah, full information over to HLE as we can see here. The BLG marking it as a little bit too dangerous. Let's have a look at this fight one more time.
E mine woră să pierd dragonul ăsta pe 3 kill-uri pe Kai'Sa. E super rău. Și cred că Rakan a trolat aici. MF-ul ăla n-a trebuit să poată să apese R atât de lung.
That's what really does this fight in. And even though the Silas was able to approach the backside, that was all that was left.
And he used it on Doran, not on Viper. That's where the heroic entrance needed to be. Try and defend your guy doing the big damage.
But the thing was, it was big damage onto the Lamb's respite.
Yeah.
Sean popped it in the fight. They don't get to kill him. And Zeka is standing there kind of with his arms going, what do you want me to do, lads? Sure, there's a Kindred here, but I can't kill him. And the entire backline is being devastated.
Well, now hopefully we're going to reach some normalcy as you can see.
Elk.
Oh man, Elk, massive team fight damage. That's going to bring them back to dead even in this game, gentlemen.
We've heard Emily talk about it on the desk, but to see this man become the
I'm just
player
strong
that
like
he
that, I
is
guess.
absolutely incredible. It was constant limit testing when he was Jomong.
Oh my.
But now we might need to do it again as Hanwha.
They're flipping it.
They're just doing Baron.
Boy.
Well, let's see what Shun can actually do here. Of course, Kindred can cause some issues as now they get the information. They are going to rotate their way over. Hummerlife Esports, are they looking for a turn or are they looking to burn? That's going to be the question. They break the blast cone. Has now been going to take the long way around. Does not have flash. Alcon available. This should just be a 50-50. Is on going to get thrown away by that big Gnar. The taunt going to come down. Lands only on one to get into the back line. The charm is beautiful here from second the whole time. This time will not be interrupted. And there goes the Galio. 4 versus 3 though now. As you can see, Peanut is down incredibly low. 3k health on the Baron. He dives back into the pit. Viper still so incredibly healthy as in they
Oh
go
my god. Standard Jacks.
The Baron is included in this one, but it's kills now.
Au trollat atât de tare, bro, au trollat atât de tare, bro, au trollat atât de tare. Oh my god.
Zeka's holding the flank.
Look at his face. It was ice cold, man. You saw Zeka right there. He's like, we win these. You always do, man.
I don't have the confidence to win those, but those boys.
E distrus borcanul ăla? Nu știu că era borcan. Chiar vă învăț un trick. Dacă vreți ca prietena slash soția slash concubina slash orice să fie fericită că vă are pe voi în viață, asigurați-vă că toate borcanele și astea și sticlele și astea le închideți foarte, foarte tare, astfel încât să trebuiască să vină la voi să ceară ajutor. Ca să apoi să zică, vai ce bine că am că e aici să mă ajute, că altfel nu puteam, era blocat. Din senin. Da, era un borcan de castraveți. What? Did you understand anything? What did you understand? Everything. I said that you needed my help with the job. Yes. Because I'm very strong. Life hack?
With that Baron going down for HLE.
Pentru mai multe life coaching apelați în
start Baron with 5. Like just
they were like, what would T1 do?
With the number of variables in the game, Kindred with Kindred R, Galio flying in after you, Kai'Sa Rakan being able to flank you from any angle, and it just works. And now they're in a position, 5,000 gold up, first setup on this next Mountain Drake, hoping to push us to a game 5.
In that moment, I kind of just, I want to have that thing from the Matrix, you know, where Morpheus is like, he's beginning to believe. That's what Peanut was doing when they decided to try and flip, as this is feeling a little bit dangerous here. Shun wanting to take down Zeka, you can see representing that. Wants to be able to grab a mark there as now Zeka, with that heroic entrance up and available, they are on the Dragon now. Good flank angle here from Bin, looking to make his way forward, but they're spotting it. They What's going on? BLG do grab control of this dragon though.
It's behind them.
Să facă asta mini pe gnare și se bat. Kindred? Nice. Jax? L-a prins pe MF? Ok, MF rămâne acolo? Kindred are râba. A murit doar Rakan, n-a murit nimeni important. Moare El, moare Rel. Sun are R, n-a pe Raxun. Moare Poppy. Cât de broken e Kaisa, bro? Cât de broken e Kaisa? Bine, ceva de genul, vreau mai mult. Blood. Ai cum e bine pe Jax. Cred că la Apocaliptex sunt.
So maybe Zeka just kind of kills him. We'll just have to see as the taunt will connect and his friends are going to right back in again with these chains as he's trying to turn it onto Shun. He goes gold.
Are W iar. Oh, nice timing, bro. Bro, dacă îi bătea Zeka pe toți trei, bro, era highlight-ul secolului. Because I am very strong, exact.
When these fights start, the DPS is there for BLG.
The bounce back. BLG's 5,000 gold down. Not only do they get the Drake, watch the extended dive on a Diaper. It looks like the Viper dive has been repelled by the Silas stolen Galio circle, but now watch. There's a mark on Viper. Bin can still jump. Kaisa flies in. Galio's still there. They're the ones that kill the 80 carry first and shot on the backside by so much time.
Kindred totuși pare foarte useless. În mod foarte serios, foarte puțin de damage.
BLG need to finish someone and find their way back into the fight. And the burst damage that in theory should carry Hanwha with a gold lead like this is being denied. And it's BLG that are rallying here.
And a small bit to the end of that. Zeka trying to 1v3 and giving away his bounty at the end could be a tilter that
Hai să mă campioni Master Broken. Și Master Broken de 2 ani deja. Abia fost și înainte, vreo 6 ani Broken, dar au nerfat, bine a fost metal care nu era chiar atât de wow cum era și itemization. Dar în momentul de față Italiu e în orice cont. Pentru că ăsta e un erou ce poate să buildeze orice item din joc și să fie bun pe eroul respectiv. Horizon Focus, poți să-ți faci. Infinity Edge, poți să-ți faci. Phantom Dancer, poți să-ți faci. Nash ăsta, sau, nu știu. Oh, Poppy? Are rău, trebuie să vină, ok, nu moare. Actually, e mai bine să moară Knight pentru că are pe Are Baron în 25. Au window de 20 de secunde în care poate să ia un fight 54. Poate o să dea drop la Nash?
It's Hanwha fighting back now. They're going to be able to get the mid lane turret, but how much more can BLG go for? I don't think they have the cooldowns for this.
But Baron's in 7 seconds. Knight is up in 20 seconds. A 20-second difference. I think they're just going to rush it. Bin is maybe getting the turret. I think they just get this Baron uncontested.
Just give it.
Well, we'll see what they can actually do here as the teleporting nature not want to give this one away to Voidsy.
Dacă joacă slow, poate să ia un 5v5 după că vine și Gaga. Ok, zonia, perfect zonia. Asta e mega. Din Galio, Kaisa la vește. Ok, Kindred dă damage acum. O bine așa.
I mean, the Baron resets. I think HLA could have stolen it.
Apare și Dragonul, by the way. Dar că Jax nu mai are TP.
Shun is looking for a mark in the meantime. That's why we're zooming out so incredibly far. The teleport in from Doran.
Stați băieți, că trebuie să iau marcul. Am două acum. Am două marcuri. E GG. Huge. Actually huge.
The light is going to be okay for the moment. Decent grand entrance is going to connect. There is now Peanut gets the heroic charge into the wall. Knight going to take down the light. They trade these supports as Viper in the Baron.
Mamă, cât de low e ăsta cu Silas, bro. Kindred era? Kindred era. Ok, câștigă BLG. Vine Silas. W, Elk. Mamă. Elk. Îl bate Silas să-l ia cu el. That was insane. That was insane. Look at that, insane.
What an unbelievable game! Peanut just does not care.
Și așa pe un cam să facem vizibil de la poziționare în fără picul de întâlnire, exact.
Things to note in this fight that could have turned it first. Both supports drop, but then I literally thought it turned multiple times. Poppy W interrupts Elk's ult, which saves Viper after. It's going to come up in a second. This is the thing you need to see. That Poppy W stops the Kai'Sa from executing Viper right at the end there. And then Elk sidestepping Zeka's Silas at the end to make sure it's a trade. Sidesteps that E.
And the stopwatch.
It's a 1v3. And he almost gets all of them.
The stopwatch on Peanut's ultimate. The sidestep from Zeka's chains. And he's barely able to get it. And you can see Sean, the delight that BLG were able to hold Hanwha off the Baron.
Holy moly! All right, and now
Mi se arăt și pizza cu meciul ăsta. Bro, e
here we
meciul
go.
perfect în
Sean
care să
already
numești pizza.
starting this one up. And BLG, everyone can get in at a moment's notice.
S-a rămas cu gura căscată și cu oh, nu. Nu știu care zonă e Silas, by the way. Bin? Kai'Sa? Mamă. Kai'Sa? Zonia? N-am făcut. Kindred, e momentul tău, Kindred. Momentul tău, Kindred, momentul tău, Kindred. Poți useless până acum, haide, Kindred. Mamă, cum e, Jax. Eu să ia solo aici. Dar
as Delight is trying to canter his way out of this one, and he might be able to get that flash off to escape. As the rest of BLG
he's trying to buy time.
Chasing him down. That's going to be it. The Dance of Arrows comes on through. And there's nothing that Zeka's going to be able to do about it. This should be Mountain Soul for BLG and maybe a game-breaking win in this game.
It might just be the win. I don't see how close these fights have been, how you can overcome Mountain Soul. Zeka might try something crazy with Kindred Ultimate, but I think he just knows that it's doomed if he would give away his life. So big win for BLG.
And it was a slow start for this Kindred. We were lamenting the stacking that was coming through for him. But Sean has been magnificent in these fights thus far. The fact that you pick off Elk, you think that Hanwha have a chance, but Sean is still firing on all cylinders in the back line, and now they get to turn over towards this Baron once more.
It really has been that double 80 carry. The fact that Sean, with the first Kindred of this Worlds groups, Worlds quarters, Worlds in general, is doing it.
Da, e Kindred e elementul cheie în acest match, prieteni. În caz că mă întrebați, bă, cum reușește BLG să câștige pe Red Side match-ul ăsta? E Kindred, chat, e Kindred. Dacă nu era Kindred în match-ul ăsta, n-avea o șansă. Gen, nu e Kai'Sa broken în ultimul halv. Nu. Uitați-vă la Kai'Sa ce face meciul ăsta, ia. Ce face Kai'Sa? Intră, one shot lui MF. Dacă avea Zonia, nu murea. Dacă era up sau dacă a putea să dea. Chiar nu murea, dacă nu murea, nu știu la one shot-ul ăsta, nu mai murea. Chiar a făcut-o până acum? Exact. E dezactivat, un pic n-am văzut pe el. E high risk, high reward. Dar nu se emulează meta-ul pe el de tare, că se fac foarte multe lane swaps. Și așa puțin uitat. Până la lege cineva și le merge foarte bine și apoi se schimbă din nou meta. Nu prea poți să joci în Skarner. În Sejul poți să joci, dar în general când adversarii au Sejul vrei să ai și tu frontline.
Of wealth to be put into this red side team. BLG look to crash down this top side.
Baron and Soul, HLE have to get such a massively clean engage, and even then, there's so much that can buy time. Galio, Kindred.
Wallop going to come on through there as now Zeka looking for Knight. This just takes way too long to try and take down the Galio as Voidseeker going to connect onto Doran.
He's in the bot side.
Yeah, and Bin is just going to demolish this turret, absolutely. Past goes Peanut. Going to be able to absorb the counter-strike, but look at this, it's just all of the structures falling, one after the other. Inhibitor 1 will go down, Inhibitor 2 soon to follow. And BLG, this has been what they've been so good at this series. That's just playing the map, and they have the control in order to do so. I think dotting these I's and crossing these T's shouldn't be too much of a problem.
And wiping these brows when this is all done, my word.
Oh my goodness.
They must be stressed as nice. Focused once more.
Yeah, Finn looking for that wraparound as well, on wanting that flank angle. See whether he can get in there, as Shun, you can see. Wanting to try and find an avenue in. More Void Seekers going to be connecting here from Elk. They are really starting to hurt. Knight going to finish off this inhibitor because we know he can just heroic entrance to try and find more. HLE, you have to fight now if you want to try and keep your world's dreams alive. This is it. It is do or die, and BLG, they can sense a rematch with Weibo. Decent interruption there as Bin can't come on through, and the channel of the bullet time is good, but Zeka kind of whiffs the heroic entrance, and BLG just stands back. They play patient, and they remove the last inhibitor, and they're now looking for Nexus turrets. So many buttons now on cooldown for Humble Life Esports.
Kindred mai vreau marca acum de pe Worlds, iată. Zis, mamă, chat, încă unul. O să am 3 marcuri în minutul 40. Are 7. Dar SpeeDy, de unde știi că are 7 marcuri Kindred? Păi, poți să te uiți lângă în interfață, că ți arată. Ți arată acolo peste, în loc de rună, ți arată câte marcuri are Kindred.
BLG fill in their pockets. Oh, look at the items. Look at the items on Elk right now. Max item Kai'Sa.
And this is the BLG everyone feared. It took them some time to show up to Worlds, but this is what made them so dominant in the LPL. This is the moment for them to show the world why they deserve to move to semifinals, why they deserve to be in the top contenders of 2024. But Hanwha have to find some way to prevent them. Zeka nearly at its full items. Maybe he can make it work on this Sylas. This has been the pick of the series, but he might be about to get picked as nice.
Yeah, Zeka could be in trouble here. Shun doing so much damage at this point in the game. Kindred, her scaling is something we haven't really been talking about because it feels like the game hasn't let us, but Shun is so incredibly powerful now, despite not having very many marks early on. He has 7 at this point in the game. And he can shoot them from so incredibly far away. One Nexus turret stands in the way.
Trying to walk it in.
Between BLG and another date with Weibo in a best of 5. And they're pretty good at those. They're now going to dive in, looking to finish this one off. Already the turret is going to be taken down. Peanut finds a decent ultimate. Yep, that's just the Nexus rush. And BLG, they'll take down LCK's first seed and move to semifinals.
The number 1 seed.
A arătat mult mai bine BLG astăzi, și drept. Hanu a arătat bine în primul meci, dar a fost practic mega draft gap. Nu știu dacă mi-a plăcut neapărat draftul de la HL pe Rețele în ultimul meci. Picurile alea de acre mi s-au părut foarte văd, mai ales cum ți-a mers de bine cu Sylas first pick, nu înțeleg de ce au vrut să le dea Sylas-ul ca să ia first pick cu Jax pentru Doran. Astea fi spuse, chat, ne vedem mâine cu T1 versus TS. Ar trebui să fie o serie la fel de bună ca asta, că nu mai bună ca asta. Iar duminică vom vedea Genji versus Fleckfest. Pompat, aveți grijă de voi și ne vedem mâine.